101. We're going to start now. Let's start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as you might guess by the way we're dressed, this is not a council meeting. The lack of people here is also because it's not a council meeting. Because it's not been advertised as a meeting. There can only be 4 of us here at a time. So the 3 of us up here, and you may see a council member circling back and forth. If anyone sees 5 council members here at once, that's the only time you can call out without me recognizing you and say, you've got a quorum, and I'll stop the meeting right away and kick one of them out. But okay, we're gonna start now. The order of events is going to be, first we're going to hear from the assessor about assessments. Then I'm going to talk about how we get from assessments to taxes. And then at the end, probably the most important part of the meeting, Tiffany is going to talk about some tax relief programs. So, Mr. Carabelli, our assessor, if you would take it off.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And welcome everyone here to our, I guess, second or third now town hall session. Understanding the assessment process. As the mayor stated, I'm the tax assessor here in Franklin. Part of my credentials, I'm obviously a certified tax assessor. I'm a designated MAI member of the Appraisal Institute. I'm a state certified general real estate appraiser, and I'm commissioner president of the Mercer County Board of Taxation. I also serve on the tax court committee to the Supreme Court, and I think it's my 8th term. Just to give you an idea of the tax structure, property tax assessment structure in New Jersey. In the Division of Treasury, the director of the Division of Taxation virtually heads our department. Beneath her is the Board of Taxation, and here in Somerset County, the board is made up of 5 members. They supervise the county tax assessor, who took the time tonight to be with us, Charles Elder. And then I serve under the tax administrator. So the tax administrator is my supervisor. Even though I'm a township attorney, township assessor, my immediate supervisor is Mr. Elder over at the county tax board. Why don't we start with discussing why do we have property tax assessing? The straightforward answer is the assessment process determines the percentage of the tax levy that each and every property owner in a municipality is responsible for. The system is referred to as an ad valorem system, and I believe that's Latin for value added, or according to value. Part of the misconception is the more assessed value a community has, the more money they raise. That's far from the truth. As I said, the purpose of assessing is to calculate your fair share of the tax burden here in Franklin. So if the community just said, well, let's raise everybody 10%, that doesn't mean that they're going to raise 10% more in funds. They can't raise any more than is approved in the municipal budget. With respect to your individual assessment, your assessment cannot exceed 100% of true value. Now, what I'm sharing with you is true throughout the state. So it isn't something that the county board came up with or we devised here in Franklin. This is again state law. In order to maintain assessments, and I'm assuming that's why everyone's here tonight, the change in your assessment from 24 to 25. There's a number of procedures that an assessment department can go through. One is a reevaluation. The last time Franklin was revalued was in 1994. What that involves is retaining an outside firm. They'll come into the town, virtually take over the assessment office for a year, go out and do site inspections, get into as many properties as they can, bring the data back, collate the data, and then come up with an adjusted assessment. Here in Franklin, we do what is referred to as annual reassessing. I think the system, which has been in place for a while, the annual reassessment system, I can only vouch for 2008 when I was a tax consultant here. I know that it was jump-started in 2008. I became the assessor in 2009, and I could tell you every year from then, including this year, 2025, we did the reassessment. And we are on schedule, and we've been approved to conduct the reassessment for tax year 2026. The last is a compliance plan. I don't want to get into that. It's kind of not really complete. It's not as involved. It's not as detailed. In my county, Mercer, we use that more than the reassessing, and that's by the assessor's choice there. Obviously, my choice here would be to stay with the reassessing program. A little bit about the reassessment program. Every year, at the beginning of the year, we'll make application with the county tax board. If that application is granted, then they'll submit it to the State Division of Taxation for approval. So it's a two-step process to get the compliance plan, to get the reassessment plan in motion. One of the requirements of that agreement is that we attempt to get into at least 25% of each property class. So we don't just hit the homes, we don't hit just commercial. There's 5 or 6 property classes throughout our town. 20% of each class we'll get into, or at least attempt to get into. The remaining properties we have to examine from the exterior only, and the state will refer to that as drive-by inspections. The net result will be, in order to get the final plan approved, is we have to demonstrate that we've changed at least 50% of the line items. In Franklin Township, there's approximately 23,000 line items, so we'd have to change at least half of them. Of the 23,000, approximately 20 are residential homes. I think the most important thing to remember is that even though we're not getting into every property and we're only looking at the interiors of 20%, the plan calls for every assessment to be reviewed. So it's not that only 20% of the assessments are being looked at. All 23,000 properties are going to be looked at. And I hope you can appreciate this is done in mass, and we're working with statistics. If you purchased a home and you financed a home, you probably had an appraisal done. These are not appraisals. This is mass valuation. It would take several lifetimes to appraise 23,000 properties, and by the time we got done, the values would be stale anyway. So we're doing this in mass. And that's the term that the state does use, mass valuation. The approaches and the way that the values are determined are the 3 classical approaches that appraisers and assessors use. The sales comparison approach would be comparing your property or the subject property to similar properties and listings. The cost approach generally applies to special use properties, maybe a church, a data center, something a bit out of the ordinary that doesn't normally trade, every day, and there aren't that many in a community to get enough data. So the state recommends that in those cases we use the cost approach, and the income approach is generally what you'll see for obviously income producing properties, strip centers, maybe a Wawa, a convenience store. Most of the industrial buildings that you see, the warehouses, those are leased, and if we end up in court challenging the values or having our values challenged, the presiding judge is going to look for income approach rather than what a comparable warehouse has sold for. Now, how do we go about doing all this? I know it's kind of difficult to see this slide, but the slide begins, and it's part of the reason why we have in color, but the top of the slide begins with sales. This is in a neighborhood. Begins with sales beginning in October of 2020, and the last sale at the bottom is March of 22. Now, if you look at the blue would indicate that the assessment exceeds the market value. So in those particular years in this community, those values may have gone down. But then as you see when you get to the bottom, which is approaching 2022, when I think if you remember right after COA, there was a big uptick in values, you could see that the colors go to yellow. And in those cases, the assessed values are understated. So when we got into the later years, or the more recent years, an adjustment was necessary. Some of the misconceptions that property owners have is that there's a different tax rate for. I get calls. Can you make my property a commercial property? I'm just out of curiosity. Why would you want that? Well, we understand that they're taxed lower than the tax rate is the tax rate, and that's determined by the school board, your fire district, the county, the municipal rate, the library rate, and so on. These are the historic tax rates throughout Franklin from 2018 to 2025. And you can see each and every year the general rate, and you can't see the fine print, or maybe you're struggling to see the fine print on the bottom. The rates specified there are the dollar amounts per $100 of assessment. So you can look at it, either per $100 or a percentage of your assessed value. And you could see that the tax rate this year at 1.678 is significantly less than it was in 2018 when it was 2.254.
Mr. Carabelli, sorry, I have to interrupt. So the fire laws say you can stand along the walls. You can't sit or stand in the doorways. Sorry. There's seats in the second row. Anyone next to an empty seat, raise their hand. Couple of seats. All right. Excuse me, Mr. Carabelli, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the column to the right is the municipal rate, and that's the cost of running your local government. And you could see from 2018 to the present, like the general rate, that's also gone down. This is a copy of an actual tax assessment notice, and it's probably the most important document that you're going to get from Franklin Township. And I know in doing this a number of times in a number of communities and counties, most people will say that when they get this notice, they give it to their accountant so he'll know or she'll know what taxes they paid. That's what you don't want to do. But what you want to do, and it's in bold print, you're going to have your assessment notice is going to come out sometime in February, maybe. This particular one came out, you can see it was mailed on March 8th. It's going to have the 2025 assessment, and then in bold print, it's going to have the 2026 assessment. And you want to look at those two numbers, and it's going to tell you what happened to your assessment from this year till next year. Now, that, as I said, we're not going to start working on them until probably October, but you should see it in your mailbox February or March. But please don't give it to your accountant. So now you have the notice, you want to make a determination as to what you should do with respect to your tax assessment. There's just one question that you have to answer, And I know it's kind of difficult. I know the common response is, well, I'm not going to sell my house and I'm not going to do this. I never really looked into it. But what could you sell your home for October 1st of the pre-tax year? That's the assessed value. Value of your property, October 1 of the pre-tax year. So your next notice is going to be predicated on the value of your property as of October 1 of 2025. Once you know that, you can make a determination if you want to proceed with an appeal. Obviously, if you think your house is worth a lot less, you want to come and talk to the assessor, you want to file an appeal, you want to get an adjustment. But I could tell you this, and I've done this almost every year since I've been in this field. If I ask 10 people the week after they got their notice if they could sell their property for the number on that notice, 8 out of 10 of them will say yes. And 2 of those 8 will say, heck, I could get a lot more than that. So, and the statistics will hold true on that as well with respect to the relationship between assessed value and sale price. So now you made a determination that you want to move forward with an appeal. Just remember this. You're not going to get anywhere if you go before the county board. I've done this 33 years. You're not going to get anywhere if you walk in and say, I can't find any sales. There's nothing like my house that's sold. The burden by law is on the petitioner. It's up to the property owner to demonstrate that the assessor is wrong. I mean, if you think about it, we should be, we're getting paid to be right, or, sometimes, we miss things, and there is a process to go through and correct things. But my point is, you're appealing your assessed value. You're not appealing your taxes. What isn't going to fly is, yeah, my house is worth that, but my taxes are a lot higher than when I first moved here. And I'm a taxpayer as well, so I can understand that. With respect to our town, because we do annual reassessing, the appeal deadline is May 1. In no case will you have less than 45 days to respond to that assessment notice. So even if it's mailed late, you're still going to have plenty of time to file an appeal if you think that one is warranted. Before you file an appeal, I suggest you do this. Call my office. Our job is to explain the process. That's why I'm here tonight, is to explain the process. We want to be as correct as we could be. I can look everyone in the eyes and tell you that I've never tried to defend a number that didn't make sense to me. It just doesn't work, nor would I attempt that. When you're with the assessor, review your assessment. More specifically, what's referred to as your property record card. If we have wrong information, we're going to end up with the wrong value. If you don't have a finished basement, but we have you down for a finished basement because we assume that you have a finished basement because we weren't able to get into your property for whatever reason, then it's not going to be correct, okay? If it's not correct, we'll do what we have to do to fix it. You won't have to file an appeal. You won't have to do any paperwork. You won't have to get any sales. You won't have to do any of that. If we've made the mistake, we correct our mistakes. That's a must. Okay. When you're with the assessor, you want to show proof that your property is overvalued. How do you do that? You look at what similar properties have sold for. Okay, you want it, and make sure that you have the right information on your comparables. One of the things we hear repeatedly is, my neighbor sold his house for $300,000, is exactly like mine. Then we go look at it, and it's 1,000 square foot smaller. It's a ranch and not a two-story. So no two pieces of real estate are identical. There's always similarities and dissimilarities in any two pieces of real estate. The other thing that you want to keep in mind, when you initiate an appeal, it opens the assessment up to review. So the board's going to require that you let us through to inspect the property. If we didn't have the finished basement that you finished 5 years ago without a permit, we're going to put it on. I would go out of my way to encourage you to file an appeal if you think that you have a good case. Okay, so now you're going to go file at the county tax board. If your home is valued or your property is valued at more than $1 million, you can go directly to tax court. I don't suggest you do that. If you have a single-family residence, your property card is going to say Class 2. Give the assessor the first look at it. It's going to save you a lot of time. You don't want to get tied up in the court system. And it becomes a little more challenging there. They are kind of flexible. They do give you some leeway, but they're more stringent. The rules are the rules, and there's no relaxing any rules in state tax court. You can get your appeal on the internet. You can fill it out online. And I don't know, I assume that there's a mechanism to pay the fee. You want to make sure that you filed and the fee is paid. The clerk here in Franklin should get a copy. The assessor should get a copy. And the county tax board should get a copy along with your check. The county board suggests that you have at least 5 comparable sales. And I could tell you in slow periods, it's kind of hard to get 5. It's even kind of hard for us to get 5. But if you have a legitimate case, we'll take care of it for you. What's a comparable? If you pick up an appraisal book or an assessing book, it's going to say first, look at a timely sale. I had one petitioner this past season that came in with a sale that was like 11 years old. That's not going to help us, so we want something more contemporary. The county suggests don't go back more than 12 months from October 1. So you have a 12-month window there to find some comparable sales. I used as an example, don't compare a ranch to a 2-family. Don't compare a 4-bedroom to a 2 or 3-bedroom. And I know it becomes a little more challenging, and sometimes the information isn't out there. It's not out there for us either. So we have to take what we have and we have to work with it, and we'll work with you again on that if there's issues. Okay, where do you get this data? You have appraisers. You have assessors, you have realtors, you have the county tax board. I would not take anything off of the internet as gospel. I would, in my practice, if I do go that route, I'll use it as a lead, but don't take it as gospel. What does that mean? Call the township or township office here, the assessment office, and say, hey, I'm looking at this property at 123 5th Street, and it says in Zillow that it's 1,200 square feet. How big is it? And we'll look, and maybe it's 1,200, maybe it's 2,000, maybe it's 3,000, maybe it's a 2-family. That's very common. If you were doing a search like Zillow does, a Class 2 property is a 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit residential property. So if you have a single-family detached home, it's in no way comparable to the 4-family, but Zillow doesn't know that. My point is just verify and confirm what's out there. I mentioned 5 sales, and no disrespect to the county, Charles, but I think they picked 5 because there's 5 lines on the form. It'd be great if you could fill them all in. I know that it's in private practice and assessing here, it's difficult to do that. Give me a couple good sales. Give me something that shows me something, and we'll work it out. This is a copy, and it's not. I guess you could just about see it on the screen there. This is a petition of appeal. It's a 3-part. Again, you keep a copy, one for the clerk, one for the assessor, one for the county board, and the county board, of course, gets the filing fee. If you have any questions as to how things are handled at the county, please give Charles's office a call. Don't go by what they do in other counties. I could tell you Charles and I are in the same organization, and there's 21 counties, and there's 21 ways of doing it. Call Charles and say, hey, you know, I can't make that. Can I get an adjournment? Can you change my time from 9 to 11? You know, and I'm sure he'll work with you as well. I don't think we've ever objected to anything that Charles has suggested in the way of accommodating a taxpayer. Okay, so now you're at the county board. What do? You have your comparable sales. You should be able to explain the similarities and dissimilarities. Again, no two properties being identical. And then let the commissioners hear that and let them apply their judgment, their expertise, their talent to what they think a fair and equitable assessment would be. I would suggest that you come early and watch the proceedings so you can familiarize yourself by what's going to happen. And in every case, whether it's with your property, the assessors should have some photos, but with your comparables, make sure that you have at least driven by. And now with MLS, if you have a realtor friend or they're kind enough to share MLS data with you, they even have a bunch of interior photos. So the commissioners can get a feel as to the quality and condition of the units, of the interior of your home.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt again. Fire code doesn't allow you to stand in front of the doors. You can stand along the walls.
Yes, you can go up along the wall on the from your direction on the right side or the left side of the room. Yep. All the way up.
There's one seat here. There's two. There's two. Three. There's three right there.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Deductions. Here's a couple ways, actually I think it's 4 ways, to save a couple tax dollars if you qualify. One would be a residential senior citizen. That's a $250 deduction. You have to be 65 years or older. You must own and live in the property that you want the deduction on as of October 1. You have to be a citizen in New Jersey, and there is some income requirements. A disabled person, again, $250. I'm not going to read through these. I'll just tell you, if you have an interest in any of these, just feel free to contact my office, and we'll be happy to take you through it. A veteran, if you're honorably discharged from active duty service in any of the branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, $250 deduction. The same $250 applies to the surviving spouse of the veteran, provided that the spouse is not remarried, remains a citizen in New Jersey, and the deceased veteran was a New Jersey resident at the time of death. I'm going to hand the mic over to Tiffany, and she's going to get into some of the tax relief programs at the state.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tiffany Esquilin from the Tax Collector's Office. I'm the Deputy Collector, and I'm here to talk about the property tax relief programs. So we have the Blue Book, which is the Senior Freeze, the Anchor, and the Stay of New Jersey. Now, the Blue Book is specifically more for 65 and older. It also gives you the breakdown there. And then you have separately for the Anchor, which is under 65, and it has the breakdown of income. We also have a filing event coming up September 9th, which is from 1:30 to 4:30. It's going to be at the community center, and that's to help to file for the programs, and they're coming from the state. Any questions?
Okay.
Yes, it's right on the flyer. It's also going to be posted on the website.
Okay. In addition to the 4 deductions that I referred to, we also have an exemption where a person could be exempt entirely from property taxes, and that would apply to a veteran who sustained a war injury, and became 100% and permanently disabled. That benefit also extends to the surviving spouse. One of the things that you might want to look into if you've made any improvements to your home is abatements. And what would happen here is the amount that was abated would be applied to your assessment, and it would reduce your assessment by that amount. In order to qualify, you must be the home must be at least 20 years old. You can abate up to $25,000 per year for 5 years. You need to get a building permit, and when you get the application for the permit, there will be an application in there to apply for the abatement. So make sure you go through the entire file, and if you qualify, certainly take advantage of it. If not, call our office and we can explain the program to you, and so on. Once the improvements are substantially completed for their intended use, or you've been issued a CO, we generally go by a CO, you have 30 days to complete the abatement application. That's all I have, unless...
We're going to handle questions at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions?
No, we're going to handle questions at the end.
Oh, they're going to go up to the microphone.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, so I need the projector cord. There we go. Okay, my worst nightmare didn't happen. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about facts and myths and somewhat of my opinion about property taxes, and I'm going to bring you from the assessment to your taxes. So let me first say, the property taxes are a stupid way to pay for schools. It's over 400 years old in this country. And actually, I looked it up. In Mesopotamia, it first started 5,000 years ago. I think it's time for a new way of doing things. It's regressive. The amount you pay has little relationship to your ability to pay. It's insensitive to retirement or loss of a job. It delays retirement, causes senior flight where seniors move out because they can't afford it. Then young people move in with kids, more kids in school, more taxes. State New Jersey, which you just heard about, is trying to fight that. And it requires a New Jersey constitutional amendment to change it. All right, so going from assessments to taxes, I'm going to talk about levy and levies, control of tax levies, tax rate, and your tax. So the levy that we often talk about, the tax levy is the proportion of the budget that's paid for by taxes. It's the budget after you subtract out grants, state aid, and other sources of revenue. After we collect taxes, we give the school, county, open space, both municipal and county, library, and fire their levy amounts, and we get what's left over. Control of tax levies. The council only controls the council levy. We have no control over the Board of Education levy. That's by the Board of Ed members. No control of the county. That's by the commissioners. Open space and county, of both county and municipal properties are voted by voter referendum. The libraries by state, and the fire commissioners control the fire districts, and they get voted on by the voters every year. The council only controls the municipal levy. So how do you go from the levy to how much you're going to be paying? And that's the tax rate. The tax rate is the levy divided by the total assessment of the entire town. And because that's going to be a very small number, multiply it by 100 so it's easier to handle. So for this year, the municipal tax rate was $39 million divided by $16.7 billion. The 16.7 is the total assessment of all the properties in town times 100, and that came out to 0.234. So 0.234 is what we come up with for us. The schools, which is the largest part of your taxes, came out with 1.064. County, you can see for each of them. Now, the open space library and county open space are set. They don't, well, library changes by a state formula, but these are not by the formula that you saw before. These are more or less set amounts, and then the fire district set theirs. So one thing you can do about that is, or with that, is you can add all of them up, and that's your total tax rate, and that's what's used to calculate your tax. The total tax rate this year was 1.739. So your tax is your assessment times the total tax rate over 100. You get rid of that 100 that was added in before. So for this year, for the average house, which is a mythical house that we just do by math of all the other houses' assessments, the mythical house was valued at $555,000. You multiply that by the tax rate, divide by 100, and you get the property tax on the average home. The other thing you can do with the tax rates, because they're all within the same year and have the same total assessed value dividing it to use to calculate them, you can see what percent of your taxes goes to each taxing entity. So you divide this number by the, I'm sorry, I'm pointing with my pointer. You divide trying to get the laser pointer working. All right, you divide the 1.064 by the 1.739, and that gives you 61.2% for the school districts. You divide them all out, and you see for the local municipal tax, that turns out to be 13.5% of your tax. That's down from 14%. So that doesn't mean your taxes, well, first of all, what it doesn't mean is that does not mean we increased your tax by 13.5%. Of your total property tax, 13.5% of it was due to the municipal tax. So that's down from 14%. That doesn't mean that our taxes went down. That means all the taxes went up, but ours went up less than the other taxing entities. And if you look at that, since I became mayor in 2016, it's had a constant downward slope. When I first became mayor, it was 16.1%. It has now decreased year by year until this last 1 year ago, it went up again, and now this year it's down again. So we are doing our job. We are increasing taxes slower than the other taxing entities. So using round numbers, if your tax bill was $10,000, the township gets $1,350 of that. The rest goes to everyone else. Actually, we pay everyone else first and hope that there's $1,350 left over. But that's exactly the truth. They get their money first. We're left with what's left over. So a tax myth. And the assessor covered this. I'm going to cover it again. We raise assessments to collect more taxes. Tax fact. Assessments determine how the taxes are divvied out not the total tax collected, except again for library and open space. Assessments financially affect the individual, but not the town or the other taxing entities. For those of you who remember algebra, up on top, I'm an engineer, I have to do this. Up on top is the levy divided by the total assessment. That gave you the tax rate, and there's the calculation for your tax. On the bottom, if we were to double assessments, then we would multiply the assessments of the township by 2, and then on the bottom line, your assessment by 2. Those, if you remember your algebra, those 2's cancel out, and it's the same as above. Sorry, I just had to do that. The problem is when your assessment grows more than others, your tax then increases while others decrease. The township gets the same, which is equal to the levy. Now, I want to really explain this by using the pie example. The levy is like a pie, the amount that we're going to get. And in assessment 1, Phil, Rom, Alex, and Ed all had houses assessed at $15. And the township wanted $600 in their levy. So because their taxes are the same, their house properties are the same value, their taxes are the same, and they get an equal share. But then next year, assessment number 2, Ed's house triples in value. So the township still only wants $600, so now it's going to be divided up differently. Phil, Ram, and Alex each pay $100, and Ed pays $300. We don't get any more money, it's just who's paying the tax. Here's the other example is that everybody's assessed value stays the same, both A1, assessment 1, and assessment 3 in the chart below. It's all $15 per house. But in the top, we want $600, and in the bottom, we want $1,200. It's still divided out evenly, but the size of the pie grows. So you slice it the same way, but the pie has increased, so the amount you pay has increased. The levy determines the size of the pie. The assessment determines how it's sliced. The only thing that council controls is the levy, not the assessment. So what the hell happened this year? So the average assessment for the entire town increased by 12.2%. The average residential assessment increased by 16.6%, some more than others. So what happened was the tax burden shifted from the commercial to the residential. There are years where it goes the other way. About 3 years ago, we had a run of 4 years in a row where the commercial was gaining in value and was gaining in their portion, and the tax burden was going on them. And of course, your taxes were not going up as much, so you were great, but you weren't really noticing that it's partially because the commercial values were going down. I'm sorry, the commercial was taking more of the chunk of it. The other thing that happened this year was the New Jersey Department of Education encouraged our Board of Education and many others around the state to exceed the 2% tax levy cap because the district was spending below adequacy. They weren't spending enough per student. And this happened in many towns. The Board of Education is 61% of your tax bill, and it went up 10.7%. They were actually, they were in a tough spot because they were being told they're not spending enough per student, and they were given the opportunity actually to increase. I'm told, I didn't verify this myself, they could have increased 18%. They held back, but it's still a huge number that they increased it. Council doesn't control the Board of Education, the county, municipal or county open space, library, fire districts, or assessments. By the way, the fire districts, except for one of them, have been pretty good. They've been either flat or one of them even decreased their levy. So council controls the municipal levy. But you can, I remember I talked about the 13.5%. Oh, I've already discussed this chart. So I've discussed how we're doing with our portion of the tax bill, but let's look at the levy versus inflation. So, I'll make it about me. In 2016, comparing to the year before I took office, we increased our levy by 1.8%. The next year was 0, the next year 0.5, the next year 0, the next year 0, 0, 1, 1, 6, and 2.6. The 6 was because of a huge $2 million increase in our health insurance. There's 4 zero tax increases, or levy increases, not tax increases, levy increases there. There hadn't been another 0 levy increase since 2004. That was the last time that happened. And the year before that 0%, there was a 24% levy increase, and the year after there was a 10.6% levy increase. So we had 3 years in a row with 0 and other years with 1 or 0.5%. So if you accumulate that over the years from 2015 to 2025, it's a little hard to read. Over that much time, the levy has increased 13.5%. If you look at the Consumer Price Index, that went from 237 to this July, 320. That's a 35.1% increase. So we're increasing the levy at far under half the rate that inflation is increasing. So myth, the budget process is not transparent. Let me go over how the budget process works, and the manager may have comment on this. The budget is prepared by the manager and staff beginning at the end of the prior year. It is then reviewed by the Financial Oversight Committee. All of this is done out of view of the public. It's preparation of the budget. But then in March, this year on March 10th and March 18th, there were 2 publicized public meetings where the budget is revealed line by line. On April 8th, it was introduced and published online. A month later, on May 13th, it was presented for public comment. Only 2 people were present. Only 1 spoke. She wanted to know if there was money in the budget for a turnabout. That was the only question we received about the budget. In all, the public has 2 months to review the budget prior to its passing. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, I really wish I could get this laser pointer thing working. Laser pointer. Nope. I don't know why it's not working. So the next things you're going to see are, you can get to yourself and do this yourself on tinyurl.com at /Franklin Tax 2025. I'll show that again later. So this is a way that you can look up the any residential address in town, including your own, including your neighbors, the how much taxes go to each taxing entity, how much of it is due to the assessment, and how much is due to the levy or the budgets. So I'm going to go up to this upper left-hand corner and zoom in on that. And this address is 1 Average Avenue. So this is the mythical average home. I added that to the database. So the assessment went from $477,000 to $555,000. That's an $80,000 increase. That's up 16%. The property tax went from about 8.5 to 9.5. about $1,000 increase, and that's at 11.4%. I'm now going to go to the center right of this table. So again, you see the $1,000 increase highlighted at the bottom there of your payable tax. If you go up to the upper right-hand corner in the light orange, $560 of that $1,000 increase was due to the Board of Education levy increase. $32 of that tax increase was due to the council or the municipal increase. And $354 of that $1,000 increase was due to the increase in assessment or the change of assessments. I'm now going to show you another home. That was the average home. This is a home that was hit hard. So we'll go back up there. This was a home that in 2024 was assessed at $900,000. In 2025 was $1.2 million. That's an increase of over $300,000 or a 36.6% increase. The property tax increase went from $16,000 to $21,000. That's a $5,000 increase of 30.8%. I'm not going to name the person, but this person is a council member. So we're not playing with assessments to help us. This was a council member whose assessment went up that much. Again, if we look, cut it down more at the $5,000. Of that, $1,000 was the school board assessment, school board levy. $2,000 was due to the school board, the way the assessments affected the school board levy. $61 of the $5,000 increase was due to council action. The assessment effect due to council action was $500, but the actual action we took was $61 of that $5,000. Again, if you want to look this up and do it yourself, you can go to tinyurl.com/FranklinTax 2025, and you can see what happened with your taxes. So if I've been successful in what I've been trying, in what I've attempted to do is, you're saying, okay, we get it. We see that even though we write our checks to the township, even though we get our tax bill from the township, even though if I pay my taxes in person, I come here to pay them, the township's responsible for very little of your tax. But I realize, and we all realize, and that's why we're here, is that you're still saying, yeah, but I'm still paying more taxes. And we feel that. So that's why we wrote a letter to Senator Smith, Assemblyman Danielson, and Assemblyman Egan saying, we've got to stop this method of taxing. Our people are suffering. Please help us. And Senator Smith has called me. He said he will be writing a letter, and we'll go from there. That's all I have to present. Anyone else here have something? All right, then we're going to open it up for questions. So this is not a council meeting. This is a town hall meeting. So we're going to limit it to questions. We're not here for speeches. We're not here for tirades. We're trying to inform people tonight. So if you have any questions, you can come up. It's going to be it's a lot of people here. We want as many people to come up as possible. And we're going to limit it to 3 minutes. And if you want us to answer back and forth, we will answer, but that's going to come out of our time's going to come out of your 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add one more thing before we put her on the timer? The other thing is that your questions should not be specifically related to questions about your assessment directed to the assessor. If you want to have a discussion about your individual assessment, you should contact the assessor's office and speak with either Kathy or Rick about your individual assessment. It should not be everyone coming up and saying, I want to know more information about my assessment. That won't be productive tonight. So that's all.
And please state your name and address.
I'm Vanessa Davenport, 211 Learnington Way.
Get right up to the mic.
I'm Vanessa Davenport, 211 Learnington Way. I'd
Thank
like the assessor to explain the same thing he explained regarding how the assessments are done, but related to condominium developments and planned unit developments. How does that work within? Because in my mind, we should all be within the same range, I would think, since we're all pretty much the same house, with minor differences. Does that make, I don't know if that makes sense or not. That's how I think of it. So I'd
No,
like you to explain how it actually works.
No, that's a perfectly good question. The condominium is just a form of ownership. So we would value those properties, those units, just as any other piece of real estate, what a comparable property would sell for. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but there's nothing unique about the valuation of a condominium. Basically, you have an interest in your unit and the common elements.
Correct.
And there's a value associated with that. So we would look at what similar units have sold for. There may be a difference, I don't know specifically where you're at, but there may be differences in end units as opposed to interior units. There may be a difference if it's a three-story building. We may find differences on the third level as opposed to the first level.
Well, let's say, for example, it's a townhouse community with 3 models, 2 bedrooms, corner units, 3 and 2 different models of 3 bedrooms, but they're all approximately 2,000 square feet.
Okay, then the assessment should be similar, except for maybe the end units.
Yeah, the end units,
Typically-
the end units are the 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, so the end units, you typically see a higher value, but the interior units, if they're the same floor plan, the only difference may be, and we're running into this, we did get some appeals in older townhouse projects where updating, renovations, interior condition came into play. So we also can consider, if you have a new bathrooms, updated kitchen, and you've done some renovations that contribute to value, they may have reflect the net condition of your property and vis-a-vis the assessment.
So you try to get into 20% of those also, or because?
Oh, no, we get, across the board. 20% of the townhouses, 20% of the condominiums, the attached homes, the detached homes, the apartment buildings, the strip centers.
Some of my neighbors believe that since we're all pretty much similar, that it's not necessary for you to
And
get in,
that's,
but you do
that's
get in.
generally the case.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hi, Carol Schmidt from 395 Windfall Lane. I may be dating myself, but what happened to the ability by a town to vote down a school board budget so that we could have better control? Did that go away with Governor?
So that went away with Christie with a
It was
caveat.
Christie.
He said if you keep it under 2%, then you don't have to go to a referendum, and that's what they've done.
They've been doing
But
that.
this year, they were given special privilege. They could have gone to 18 or 20%, but they held back, we'll call it.
The
10.7.
there was one other issue, and the change in the state law was when Board of Education elections were moved from a separate day in April to the general election. If a Board of Education chose to move their elections to the general election date, they no longer were required to have their budget approved if it was by the voters, and if it was approved, voted down, approved by, modified by the Township Council.
Okay, and can I ask one other question?
Yeah.
I always was under the impression, which may be wrong, that towns that had a lot of commercial properties and commercial buildings got more money in taxes. Is that not the case?
No, no. I mean, they get money from, they do get money from those properties, but they don't, commercial doesn't pay more. I mean, a big, huge warehouse, we have one that pays $1 million a year, but it's not like they get special burden out of it. That goes to just how they're assessed.
But with so many commercial buildings in this town, shouldn't there be tons of money coming in from all those?
That's not the way it works. I think the mayor touched on it in his presentation. It's a piece of a pie. So a larger property in value has a larger piece of the pie, which takes away a little bit more. So if you take a property that has no value, and now you build a warehouse on it, and it has a great value, it went from a very, very small slice of a perfectly round pie, and now it's a much bigger slice, which means it takes away a little bit from all the other 22,999 properties. It doesn't generate more revenue. The revenue is the fixed number that is the levy. There isn't anything more than that. Revenue is generated either by, we collect fees, we do all of these other things. That's what gets us to a balanced budget. We have expenses that exceed the amount that we raise in the levy, that $39 million that the mayor spoke of. But that $39 million just gets divvied up among all 23,000 properties. Some are valued and get a bigger slice at bigger values, some are smaller in value and get smaller slices. So it doesn't generate more tax money.
And that's why initially we were excited about warehouses. Oh, we're going to get, all this money coming in, and then it exploded out of proportion. But that's the problem. We want to grow, we want to invite the industry, but we don't want the mess that they bring. And that's a dilemma that we face all the time. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Phil Shalaba, and I live on 6 Alton Drive. And my question is just, I don't know how you can expect all these people sitting here to absorb this tax increase, because my taxes for the third and fourth quarter of 2025 are 150% of what they were same time last year, and then for this first and second quarter of 2026, they're 125% of what they were. And my tax assessment went up 130% of what the value of my property was 12 months ago. That's insane. That's never happened in the history of this country.
6 Almond Drive,
6 Alton, ALTON.
ALTOA.
Sir, just out of curiosity, what was your 2024 assessment and what is your 2025 assessment?
2024 assessment was 548,700, and 2025 is 726.
That's not 130%.
Yes, it is. It's 170.
Sir, I don't want to question your math, but that's not. 100% would be doubling the price to over $1 million.
Your
It's-
assessment went from 500
130% of the value.
You went from 548
Right.
to 726.
Correct.
That's 32%.
Correct.
That's huge, but
That's
it's
huge.
32%. And your taxes went up 26%.
Correct.
Which is about
And
$2,000.
you're going retroactive on the taxes back to the first and second quarter of this year, which means not only did they go up that 25%, in order for me to recoup the first 2 quarters of 2025, they've actually gone up 50% for those first 2 quarters.
So what I started with is, this is a stupid way to do taxes, but that's the law. That's the.
It's insane that you can expect that type of financial burden. My tax payment a month went up $400 for the next 6 months. It was $800 a month. Now it's $1,200 a month.
And if we had the power to change it, we would. But we're just following the law. I feel for you. I get that. You have a right to be upset.
I've lived here 22 years, in 6 Alton Drive for 22 years. I've never seen an increase like this, ever. I took out all my tax bills, not even close.
Okay,
I get the real estate values went up, I get it. And realtors in the office here, but if the values went up 130%, which they didn't, that means if you do this tax assessment annually, every year, then someone was asleep at the wheel in 2024 when they assessed my house at 548.7, and now they're saying 12 months later, it's 726. Someone was asleep at the wheel, which is why I now have this huge increase.
that's your time. Thank you.
Michelle, 283 Cedar Avenue. How do we get a copy of that letter you sent to the three council or the three gentlemen you said you sent the letter to? Senators? How do we get a copy of it?
Smith, you could call the clerk's office and she'll send you.
Well, why
the
can't we
copy.
get it from you? Did you write it?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I mean,
May I have a copy of it?
You can get it from the clerk's office. We have a clerk to handle those things.
In the building here?
Yes, just
Oh.
call the clerk's
Right on the other side of the
office.
lobby.
Okay. So I could do that tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay. Secondly,
Okay,
secondly,
Mr. Manager?
why does the assessment affect the land versus the home? Why do you increase the land portion versus the home?
The land and the home make up the real estate.
Yes, but
That's what's being assessed. The real property is being assessed. Real property, by definition, is the land and anything that's permanently attached to that land. That's what your total assessment is. One of the things that my presentation didn't cover is the law doesn't recognize separating the land and building.
Yeah.
When you contest an assessment, you have to contest the total value.
Yes,
Okay,
I
that's
agree.
what's under appeal.
But when you get that green card and you compare it to other years, it's always the land, only the land that gets
That's not true.
increased.
That's not true. That's not true.
It is true.
Well,
Yeah.
I can. Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to respond, Michelle. Okay.
Okay.
I know what I did. Okay. For tax year 25, we changed the cost conversion factor. Every improvement changed. Not necessarily every land value changed, but every improvement changed. Okay, now if you want to go through the tax list, it's on the internet. But that's what we did. That's my answer.
Okay.
And that was at the direction of who?
Well, the assessor has the ability to adjust the assessment to market value through a number of techniques. One would be to change the land value. One would be to keep the improvement value as close to market as possible, and we did a combination of the two. So we looked at our cost conversion factor, which hadn't been changed for a couple years. I don't know the exact number, but it hadn't been changed. And there was the relationship between land and building was disproportionate. So to put it back in balance, we changed the cost conversion factor to increase. And in fact, the number we used was less than the state provided. So we actually understated the value. I think they said we could increase it 2.2%, and we increased it 1.9. So we were a little less than the norm, but it's at the discretion of the assessor because in the end, the important number is the final number.
Yes, but people, when they see the green card, they go,
I can,
they
like I
see
said-
visually like,
Okay.
oh no, well, why is my land way
And
up?
Charles is here and he'll vouch for it. Our association, for the 30 years that I've been a member as a tax commissioner, have fought with the state. Just put the assessment on the notice.
Right.
You're confusing the issue.
Correct.
But
They don't do it.
I guess in 1940 or something, somebody said, let's divvy it up. And that's the way it's been. But I understand what you're saying, and that's why the courts have said, don't say I like the land value, but I dislike the improvement value,
Right.
or vice versa.
Right.
The only thing you could appeal, and I know you've been through the process, and maybe
Right.
there's other property owners here as well, is the total assessment.
Oh, is my time up? Oh, man. But he talked a lot.
People that have questions, you can call their office.
But,
She's been,
I've
she's a
been-
frequent
So, but I
visitor.
wanted to,
so the letter is available.
yes, the letter is available. What?
If you go to the agenda for the first meeting in August, the only meeting in August.
First meeting in
it was
August, the
part of
agenda.
It was on the agenda, but I will, tomorrow morning, I will call the clerk's office and tell them to make a few copies and have them
Is there
available.
any way you can answer, like, how did the superintendent of schools get approved
You're-
to raise the budget like
Your-
that?
Your 3 minutes is up, and I'll get yelled at. But
that's the rules.
I'll answer your question. It's my understanding that the NJDOE, NJ
The Department of Education
Education.
for the state of New Jersey gave direction.
gave direction to do that, and it came from the governor. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Chris Lesney. I'm a candidate for Ward 1 council position. I've been living at 4 Stiles Lane, Franklin Park, for the last 20 years. So I have much of the same feelings for everyone else. I have only 2 questions tonight. I've got tons more, but I'm only going to ask 2. Specifically on the levy, which you guys said you're in control of. While you were creating the 2025 budget, you reviewed the budget versus the actual. I was actually part of that online review of the budget that you were doing. And it surfaced some issues in your budget. It actually surfaced that you were padding your budget, or there was a buffer in your budget. And I'll give you an example so you all can understand what the levy in the budget was. And I'll use your actual department as an example. You had $500, I'll start with a small number, $500, and you didn't actually spend the $500 that's in the budget. You actually only used about 40% of your budget. The rest was buffer. And if you look back for the past 3 years, you actually did that. So there's a lot of line items in the budget where there's a lot of padding in the budget and the levy. So we're getting levy. That gray line, I know you're saying you're only responsible for.
So your question?
So my question is, why is there all this padding and buffer in your budget?
So one reason is that
I know. I'll cut them off.
One reason is that when you budget, the state requires this, that you can't switch budget categories in the middle of the year. So if you run out of money and you need that 1,000, then there's a penalty that the township pays. So you have to budget for what is likely or possible to happen.
Right. So in your example, for the last 3 years, you actually didn't use it. I went line by line for your budget, just like you did, and I saw it. I watched it online. You have multiple line items that total the number. Your department actually is 50%. You actually can cut your budget by $10,000, 50%. I don't need an answer to that. You can talk to me after. The second question, because I know I'm short on time, is during that budget session, you actually talked about the levy and the water. Everyone's going to get this water bill. Should have seen it already in the distribution. Arbitrarily 5 to 27% increase in your water bill. Arbitrarily said, no, I'm not done yet with my question. Don't take my time.
I'm waiting for the
The
question.
question is, for the apartments, you didn't levy 5 to 27%. You levied 1,050% on the apartments. That's what you did. It's in the ordinance. It's actually published. Everyone's gotten it. You levied 1,050%. You can answer that one.
I don't know about that. I will look at that to see.
Good,
But
because you're going to have to publish it
On your
and
first,
announce the change if you made a mistake. Do it, and anyone who sold an apartment building, you're probably going to have to refund them the money because your assessment is 1,050%. Check your numbers.
we will look at that.
And that example, by the way, that example, throughout the budget, if you look online,
So, wait a minute.
Yeah?
Your time is up.
Oh, I didn't know.
Can you,
oh, I didn't hear that, sorry, I thought it was your phone.
so,
You got, everyone could see me after,
so,
that's fine.
no.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're asking. I don't understand what you're at, what assessment?
Your water levy, the increase in your water levy is 5 to 27.5%. So you did, I mean, for conservation, you didn't explain it to the folks, but hey, look, they're only giving you a 5% increase if you use a little amount of water.
So we weren't-
If you use a lot, it's
So
27.5.
it's not that we didn't explain it to the folks. We weren't talking about the water bills, which is not a levy, which is a use tax.
It's a use tax.
So we weren't talking about that. And as far as
You actually
your
were
other
talking about it
question,
during the budget. And you can
Yeah,
go
yes,
to the.
Well,
but we're
no,
not
no, actually,
talking-
so this is about taxes and assessments tonight, not about water rates. The water utility operates independently and separate from the municipal budget. They have it has its own budget and only ratepayers,
You
so this
talked
is
about
not
it
the
during
venue
video.
for that
I'll give
discussion.
anyone the website video so you can watch.
That's
what I was
fine, it's on the
talking about.
website.
so, and then you can sit down as I answer your other question. Your
Well, if
time,
you're going to answer another question, I'll still stand for you,
well, but
out of respect.
no, out of respect, you can sit down because your time is up. Any money that isn't used, so you're saying we're padding the budget, any money that isn't used goes back into the fund balance, which some people call the surplus, and we use that the next year to help keep down taxes. We use millions of dollars
Or it
from
will
the,
grow.
excuse me, your time is up.
Okay.
That's why I asked you to sit down.
Understood.
So your time is up. So we use that money the next year to keep taxes down. We use millions of dollars of that money the next year. So there might be a temporary padding for a year, but the next year it's used to keep taxes down. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Benjamin Guy, 35 Pat Drive. Just to piggyback on that point, so the surplus portion, how many years in a row have we had a surplus portion of the budget during this period of time frame?
Since this method of budgeting started.
So since the 0% since 2016, you've had a
No,
surplus?
no. There is not a surplus. That's a misnomer. No, the mayor actually referenced fund balance.
Fund balance is
No,
surplus.
let me answer your question.
No, you're going to take my time. You can answer
Well, no, I'm
afterwards.
going to answer your
No,
question.
you can answer after. Pause my time then. Pause my time then.
No.
Either
no,
way, I asked you to yield. So, like, say either one.
So what's your question?
Let
So
him-
I
let
asked
him
my
go.
question. Y'all can answer it afterwards because I know how this game.
No,
is.
it's your answer
No,
is during your
I'm
time.
gonna ask-
Wait,
Your
if he
answer
So
is
second
during
portion,
your time.
Mr.
second portion, we can skip
Bornhofer,
it.
if he wants
We can
to
skip.
ask
We can skip
another question, let
it.
it-
We can
ask
skip
his
it. All right.
question.
So second portion on this specific portion that's here, when it goes to the Board of Ed and actually county. So the county, the Board of Ed budget is roughly about 190, maybe $200 million now, right? Based on the calculations you're putting out here, we send about 85 or 90 million dollars up to the county right now at this specific time frame, based on your calculations that you're putting out right now. Is that accurate or correct based on what it is? Because what you're saying to me, based on the percentages that you're displaying, is that that's how much money we are spending out. Because our current city tax budget is about 68 to $70 million. Is that correct, Von Locker?
So your math is incorrect, but yes, our budget is 68 to 70 million.
So assessment-wise, we're saying we're doing 40. Y'all just calculated
That
30,
has nothing-
31.
assessments have nothing to do with
It's
that.
about budgets.
No, it's not.
It's about budgets.
It's not.
Yes, it is. It's about about
It's
budget.
the levy.
It's about
the
budget.
budget. Has nothing to do
You
with the
are in
levy.
charge of the budget.
No,
yes or
that's
no?
not the way it
Are you in
works.
charge of the budget? Because the mayor just said
I
you were in
am.
charge
Yeah,
of the budget.
absolutely.
All right. So again, you're the person that we need to be talking to,
And I'm
because
giving
this is
you
the
an answer that
this
you
is the
don't wanna
responsible
hear.
party. Is that correct?
The levy is the amount to be raised by taxes.
Again,
That's
are you
only
responsible
a
for the
portion
budget?
of
Are you
the budget.
responsible for the budget? And
Yeah.
have you been
I've
responsible
said
for the
that
last
now
20
5
years?
times.
Right? Have you been responsible for the last 20 years?
I've been responsible since 2013.
Okay, so again, just for most of our questions, not to direct to the mayor,
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
direct the most of them to you, because it's some fact is you are in charge of the expenses and everything else. So if we have a surplus or anything else that's going on in the budget, and then we put $20 million aside, because this is what the mayor said in the council board meeting, that means that the $20 million that you're saying over the last couple of years, where did that come from? Because again, he's saying we
you have a
inflict.
fundamental misunderstanding.
No, it's what he
of
stated in
municipal-
what
No,
Paul
that's
Jones.
not what
You
he's
need
never
to listen
stated
to
that.
Mr. Vornlocker.
You have a
Could you-
fundamental misunderstanding of municipal budgeting.
And we've
you have been
explained it to
told
you
that on
several
multiple
times.
No,
occasions.
it's not me, it's the public.
So now you want an
It's
answer
not
or
me,
not?
it's the
No,
public.
No, it's
No, you want an answer, I'll give you an answer.
Yes, please.
And now you can sit down because
No, because you use my time.
your time is
Because
up.
you use my time.
No, you
and
wanted an
time is
answer.
up.
And the answer is that the municipal budget is funded by multiple sources of revenue. The main source of revenue for a municipal budget is the levy, the amount to be raised by taxes. Out of a $68 to $70 million budget, $39 million of it in the municipal portion of the tax bill was raised by taxes. The remainder of it was funded by other sources of revenue. There's a number of different sources of revenue that fund a municipal budget, and we require to balance a budget. A portion of that other revenue is the usage of fund balance. Look upon it as a bank account, a savings fund. That money, after 2 years, the money unexpended that had been budgeted. So for instance, in 2025, the money unexpended in the 2023 budget year rolls back into fund balance. What the mayor is saying is that in the last, I'm going to say 12, 13 years, we have used anywhere from 4 to, what did we use this year, Mayor? 10, 12 million? Roughly,
I don't
10 to
remember.
$12 million in fund balance as a source of revenue, taking it out of savings and using it to balance the budget. That's why the mayor is saying, if there is money that rolls from the 2 years previous back into fund balance, that money is then available to be utilized to offset a tax increase. If we had no fund balance, then we wouldn't be able to use that money, and the deficit between budget and revenue from sources such as taxes and other permits and fees would have to be made up by an increase in the levy. That's the way the municipal budget process works. It's not a surplus. It doesn't go based on a year like the private sector corporations, where they either make a profit or they lose. They're over budget or they're under budget. A municipal budget is a beast unto itself, not like anything else. It requires it to be balanced. You can only anticipate revenues in a future year no greater than what was collected in the year previous. So for instance, if we had some tax that generated $100,000 in 2024 for the 2025 budget, even if we thought that we were going to get more than $100,000, you can only anticipate $100,000. If that revenue exceeds the $100,000, that money goes to fund balance. If that revenue is less than $100,000, then you have a short deficit in your revenues, which means in the following year, you can only budget what the number was that was collected in that year. It is a very complex thing, but it is not like a business budget. It is something that is governed by law.
And that $500 buffer that was talked about, if it's not used, goes into tax relief the next year.
And also, if that 500, if you have a deficit in a budget during the course of the year, if now you under budget in a line and you're not permitted to move money from one internal budget to another during the course of the calendar year, then you have to do an emergency appropriation, and that's the penalty that the mayor spoke of. When you do an emergency appropriation, you can take money from your fund balance to cover your shortage midpoint in the year, but then in the following year, you have to include that entire amount as an appropriation, but get no benefit from it because the benefit came. And that's the way the state regulates municipalities to ensure that they don't under budget to artificially keep taxes low and then do emergency appropriations that aren't accounted for in future budgets. So you have to do it. You have to say, if we took $200,000 out of fund balance, like a company would do if they had a shortage, and you did that in August, in the next year's budget, you have to add an extra $200,000 of appropriations, but not be able to use that $200,000 because you used it in the prior year. So that's the reason why you don't budget to the dollar. You have to leave some leeway based on unanticipated expenditures. That's just the way it has to be.
I'm good. Okay. All right. Javon Walker, 15 Coon Street. A couple questions for the tax assessor. Would you know off the top of your head, like a range of how much in commercial property that has received like a tax abatement in year 2025?
Your question is
like for tax abatement, because I know tax abatements are basically like it's an exemption for property taxes paid by like a corporate or whoever owns property. I was just wondering if there would have been more relief for taxpayers if there were not abatements in Franklin Township. That's basically the conceptual question that I'm asking.
Are you referring to pilots as abatements?
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that question, if that is your question.
Okay.
So there are no commercial properties that have pilots in Franklin Township. There are only apartment complexes. The affordable housing developments of RPM and Leawood received pilots, which is a payment in lieu of tax. That's what pilot stands for anyone who doesn't understand. And a payment in lieu of tax simply means that the building owner pays a calculated sum directly to the municipality. So it's not an abatement, tax abatements are not a permitted relief in the state of New Jersey by law. So there are no commercial properties or residential properties in Franklin Township, or for that matter, anywhere in the state of New Jersey that are receiving what is known as tax abatements.
The reason I ask is I know like in New Brunswick they do like tax abatements for. That's what I'm saying. Whether it's the truth or not.
I'm telling you that you think that New Brunswick does tax abatements, but that's a misnomer if someone has called it that.
Okay.
There may be a pilot on a property which is permitted. In fact, the redevelopment area of the former Sears on Route 1 is a pilot. All right,
okay.
But that's not a tax abatement. That's just you pay a lump sum fee in lieu of taxes to the municipality.
Okay.
That's what it means.
Second question is, the mayor had mentioned that he sent out a letter to Senator Bob Smith and Assemblyman Danielson and Egan. So my question is, since Assemblyman Danielson is here, can he commit to at least like trying to push that initiative to the governor or to the state, like to the state General Assembly, that we can recalculate property taxes? So the last thing that I wanted to mention, the third thing is, to the tax assessor, do you know the chances that we can have it appealed if we use like a private company to like, you know what I'm talking about? Like the tax assessor, they recalculate the assessment. Some people, they choose to use a private company to appeal to the county or the township instead of going themselves. You brought up that we can go to maybe the county courthouse or maybe yourself to try to appeal, but I know private companies might have their own methodology in order to do that. So that's what I'm asking.
You're probably referring to an independent appraiser.
Correct.
Someone to strike the value for you. You could do that.
Do you think it's more likely, do you think it's more likely that we could get an appeal if we went through a private company? Because it's like a PSA to like all the people that are concerned about their property taxes. If you don't think that you have the chances to get it appealed by going to the tax assessor directly, then maybe it's more worthwhile to use a private company that will provide more savings than if you hadn't gone to the tax assessor.
Well, I'm going to answer it with this. I've used this PowerPoint or something very similar to it to do a tax appeal seminar for the Asbury Park Press. And I did about a dozen of them. And I was quoted there, and I'll stand by it. I don't think you need an appraiser or an attorney at the county tax board level. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Your time.
It's for someone doing it for the first time, it's complicated. Just do what you're asked to do. If Charles says I want 5 sales, make sure you have 5 sales. Verify your sales. I'm a real estate appraiser, so I might be cutting my own throat here. But we do a lot at the tax court level, yeah, because you're in a form of law. It's a little, it's not a little stricter, it's quite a bit strict. The county boards are a little more lenient. They'll work with you. If you think, and I probably said this 3 times, this will be the 4th. If you have an issue, come to my office. Most of the appeals that were filed in 2025, Catherine and I settled one-on-one. If we made a mistake, we'll correct it. You won't have to do anything. I would at least give us a look-see, and if you're uncomfortable handling it yourself, then it's fine. If you're asking me, do you need someone? I don't believe you do.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. Appreciate it.
And the other thing is just to add to that is that you also have to take into account the cost of hiring a professional like that might exceed the amount of money you're going to save in taxes by having your assessment reduced. If your assessment is only reduced $20,000 or $30,000, that amount that you pay to the appraiser will probably be higher than the amount of money you save in taxes. So it's probably not worth it for that reason as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Speaking from someone who's been on that side of it.
Appreciate it.
My name is Joyda Nazario. I'm living in 160 Rodney Avenue. By assessment, I may plan to sell my house because I can afford all the assessment coming $1,000 more when your house is in this condition. This is the condition of my house right now. I'm fighting with insurance.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, you have to address us.
I can't believe because nobody coming to your home and check the condition of your home. Just put $1,000 over what did you pay. And I'm a disabled person. I only receive Social Security. I know it's not your business how much everybody receives, but how can you afford? How can you continue in your home? It's not only the bill for water or electric. They come in higher too. But I have to sell in the house and move. Everybody already made the same plan. That's not fair for the resident. They offered to me, and I did it, the senior freezing. Yes, I did. The trick is coming. I received $863. And then 2 weeks ago, I received a letter. Oh, you get $1,000 more. You have to pay. I not receive coupons and anything. I only receive Social Security. That's not fair. I speak with her. I went there and tried to fight him for my house. But I'm tired. I can't. Why I have to pay when my taxes come in the later I have to pay almost $5,000 for a school. I don't have kids. I don't have a kid. I'm disabled. I don't care about a school, about anybody about the school. I don't have a kid.
So,
Ma'am?
the key thing that you said was, it's not fair, and we agree. It's not fair, but we have no control to stop it.
Let's look at this. This is the house where I get a $1,000 more I has to pay.
Ma'am, listen to what the
Yeah, ma'am,
assessor has to say to you.
I understand, speaking with Catherine, that you did contact our office to review exactly what you have there. I can't tell sitting here the last time we went through or the last time we attempted to go through. But if you could just allow us the time and the ability to examine your home, make sure that we have the information correct. If an adjustment is warranted, we'll make it before the list is certified. That's what we'd like to do.
Which I'm trying to explain to her. I'm one there.
Yeah, no, I
Ma'am,
did. Yeah, I said,
he's saying that they're trying to work with you, but you have to give them the time before the list is certified. You've already been in contact with them.
Yeah.
Understand, and this is a good lesson here. Let's just talk about this for 1 second. And the assessor spoke about it earlier. All right, so this isn't on anybody's time, it's on my time. You get that card in the mail. That card, as the assessor said, is probably the most important thing that you receive from the Township of Franklin every year. You know, your tax bill, those have deadlines. We all know if you don't pay your taxes, you have to pay penalties, right? But if you don't agree with your assessment, when you get that card in March, and you think that the value of your home has been raised to a number that is too high, you only have until May 1st. It's August 21st right now, folks. We're having this meeting because this happens historically every year that I have been township manager. And that is that people don't look at that assessment card and see that the value of their home has increased. All they look at is the amount of tax they paid in 2024, and they give it to their accountant to do their 1040 way back when, before April 15th, right? But nobody really looks at it. I mean, I get phone calls to my office every year, over and over. They come into my office. When is the card coming out? I need to do my taxes. When is the card coming out? And I tell everybody who calls my office, don't use that card for your taxes, because to be perfectly honest with you, that may not be an accurate number. All right, but that is very accurate for your assessment. And if you don't think it's right, you only have until May 1st. So you can come here to the microphone today and you can be angry in the audience today because you feel that your assessment is too high, which then ultimately may have resulted in an increase in your tax bill. But that needs to be looked at the moment it comes, and you need to have a discussion among whoever it is that you live with in your home that's responsible for paying the bills, and say, are we going to accept this, or are we going to look at the process of appealing it in hopes that we have it brought down to a lower number because we feel that this is an inappropriately high number? You got to look at that card, folks. You got to look at it, and you got to make that decision when it comes, not 3 months after May 1st, 5 months after. But ma'am, this is a public, you can go to the microphone and talk.
I don't know that. She explained
the
to
time-
me.
But now we know, and
She
your time
explained
is
to
up
me.
for now, ma'am. Deal with the assessor's office. That's what you need.
And before you start, sir, I'm probably not going to make myself very popular by saying this, but the comments about I don't have kids in school, so why am I paying school taxes? I've never had kids, but I want to pay school taxes because I want the next doctor I go to be educated. I want the next pharmacist I go to be educated. I want the next carpenter I go to or mechanic to be educated. I don't want kids not going to school and hanging around and finding ways to get into trouble. We all benefit from the schools, and I have never heard someone with a kid in school say, don't have those people over 65 pay for the schools. I should be paying because they don't have kids in the school anymore. So I disagree with the fact that if you no longer have kids in school, that you shouldn't have to pay school taxes. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Martin Zebatar. I live at 728 New Brunswick Road. I'm currently running for a BOE candidate. I have several quick questions. Since the last reevaluation was in 1994, Are there any plans to do it again, and how much would it cost the municipality to do a reevaluation of all the properties? And in the last 10, other questions, for the last 10 years, how many residential homes have been built, how many warehouses have been built, and how many dispensaries have been built that are supposed to be bringing in additional taxes that would have kept our rate down?
I guess I'll take your second question first. We do have those statistics, but obviously I don't have them in front of me. So I could get you that count on housing, warehouses,
Sure.
and dispensaries.
That would be great.
You
Yeah,
said you
and-
want to go 10 years?
I mean, I'll be honest with
last
you, but
10 or the last 20.
yeah, the assessor's office has all that. So every year there's an assessment card that's done, and it just lists the types of
I
properties and
didn't ask
number.
that. I said, how many new homes
I
were
said
built?
every year it lists the number of each individual class of property. So if you start 10 years ago at one number and you look at the number from 2025, obviously the difference is the number that's been added, right? The card lists the total number of each class. So you just simply have to look at the card. That's all. So you have that. And as far as
Well,
dispensary.
that might be for my class of property. I'm talking.
No, I said for every class of property.
No, I don't.
Literally.
My tax card.
Not on your tax card, on their tax card for the county tax office.
That's right. So if he gives me that information, you are
That's what
correct.
I said. They have it all in the office.
That's what he said he was going to send.
Right, and I'm saying that's one, and he said he would answer those questions. And the third question was about dispensaries. The dispensaries generated a little over $400,000 in tax revenue for the township last year that was applied strictly to the general budget.
And how
And we
many
would
dispensaries
anticipate
were
more.
there?
I think there were, over the course of the year, several came online. I think when they ended the year, I was about 10 that were online at the time.
And why do they have to be every half mile?
That's not a question for taxes, sir.
Oh, no, you guys
You can come to the
approved
council
it.
meeting.
No,
You
that-
approved the
No, I don't
permits.
approve
Sir,
anything. I'm the manager.
This is about taxes.
It's about
That's not a
taxes.
tax
Okay.
question.
Can you answer about the reevaluation of the property, please?
Well, I said that I think the last
1994.
was in 1994, and I can only vouch for 2008 to the present with respect to the reassessment program. The purpose that we do the reassessing is to keep the values up to date, which is basically what a reval would do. I don't know exactly what the fee would be. It would be done by an outside firm. We have 23,000 plus properties that need to be valued, very diversified types of properties. I don't want to venture a guess at what it would cost. If I was being asked, and I'm an assessment maintenance, I'm all for that, whatever it takes. I believe doing what Franklin's been doing since 2008 is the best way financially, and as far as accurate assessing, I believe this is the route to take. If I was asked my opinion by the administration or by the county board, that would be my recommendation. I would not, at this point, suggest a revaluation.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I'm just going to add, generally, sir, towns that do revaluations do them at intervals anywhere from, I'd say, like 8 to 15-year intervals. They don't do them often because they are so costly. And the whole idea and the reason why there's been a significant shift, and in fact, there's 21 municipalities in Somerset County, and I think we're right around 17 or 18 now that are doing it in the manner that we do. 16, okay, I was close. 16 municipalities in Somerset County do annual assessments in the manner that we do. And the reason for that is what Mr. Carabelli said. The goal is to keep it at as close to 100% true value on that magic date of October 1st, not only through the municipality, but also there's the county, because obviously we have a county tax, we have a county open space tax, and then when there's towns that don't do that, there's an equalized value that needs to be calculated to bring them up to the level of the towns that do annual assessments. So that it's not only cost effective for the municipality, but it's generally deemed fairer across the board, not only with your property owners within your municipality, but also your property owners countywide, which are it's only county-wide as the furthest that property taxes are impacted, right? State tax has nothing to do with it. So that's why, one of the reasons why towns are encouraged to do annual assessments.
Okay.
There's actually a lawsuit in South Brunswick right now for not doing it.
Just one other thing, sir, going hand in hand with what Charles mentioned. 16 to 17 of the 20-some municipalities doing reassessing. When I started here in 2009, it was probably about 6 or 7 municipalities. So the trend is towards in-house reassessing.
So my follow-up
So
question.
your time's up.
Who was in council?
Sir,
Wait a
sir,
minute.
your
I have
time.
one last question,
No,
please. as a
sir, your
follow-up.
time's up because the next person's going to say they should get as much time as you did.
Hi, good evening. I'm Marianne Riley, and I live on Selby Court.
So if you two go together, you get still a total of 3 minutes.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Helen Fu, 128 Selby Court.
We're here because we both need some clarification on some things. The state of New Jersey permits school districts to raise the tax levy by 9.9% in order to reach adequacy. However, the school district, the Franklin Township School District, imposed an increase of 10.7% this year. Is that because of what happened with the governor and giving this special year to where they could raise the pricing? They raise the tax?
Again, we're not responsible for that. I don't know the answer. Do you? Does anyone else here know the answer?
I would say that, and I know that I'm not trying to shit, but we have nothing to do with that, and I've not kept myself abreast of all of the nuances of it. I would direct that question to the Board of Education and the superintendent of the board.
Okay.
Because they would, I mean, if you call the superintendent's office, he'd probably be able to give you that answer in a minute.
Well, one of the reasons that I asked is because I was here last Monday with Helen, and I know that the council people were talking about, well, we were concerned about the school budget. You know, we talked to people on the board about the school budget, and I just thought maybe this was addressed.
So just for the record, ma'am, on that particular budget hearing where the school board raised the taxes that we are all talking about, I was there as a citizen, not as a council member, as well as my colleague, Deputy Mayor Shipauddin. We both were there. We both spoke against the massive raise that they were considering. I think we have a school board member here. He would agree with me. And he himself wasn't for such a massive raise because of the situation that single fixed income families and the seniors in town. We argued that it is a unsustainable raise in the tax rate and the tax money. So we asked the board to reconsider such a big raise. There was one other citizen that spoke against the tax increase. We did not see the turnout that we see here today, unfortunately. Maybe the board would have had a better understanding of the pain that everybody's going through. Perhaps they would have reconsidered. But this is not the forum to bring up the school taxes. Okay, please, sir, if you want to talk, please come to the mic. I have the mic, and I'm just explaining what happened. So the school board voted the increase on that day, so that's why the taxes went up what it did, okay? So the council, as much as you all like us to control that, have no role in that. We have no control. We do send the tax bill, so you do pay a big bill. We understand that, but we don't keep it. Like the mayor explained, we keep only 13.5% of the tax. That's all we control, and we control that very tightly. Thank you.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
actually,
your time's
your
up.
time is
They
now up.
allowed to raise our tax by 20% next year?
Ma'am,
Time is up.
your time is up, but again, you're talking about they, and they is the Board of Education, and you really, I encourage anyone who has an issue with that bill, with that part of your tax bill, to address the Board of Education. And you vote for members of the Board of Education, they're a governing body, and you should address that appropriate governing body.
Well, we will vote them out.
Carol Rivera, and I'm on Dilion Circle. And there are two items.
Your
I'd
address,
like
please.
clarification.
Your address, please?
She's deli on circle.
Just that
Oh, I'm
Dilion.
sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The first is, over the years, I have collected tax relief from the Anchor program. This is the first year that I wanted to apply or complete the application for tax freeze. But I understand.
Senior freeze?
Senior freeze. But this is the first year that it was changed to a PAS
Correct.
program.
It's
So-
all three forms of relief in one application.
Right. Now, in the past, I was told that for any senior freeze that I had not submitted an application for, I could go back
Tiff?
over the years. And I'm asking, is that still possible?
So I'll let
Notwithstanding the
Tiffany will answer that if she can.
Okay.
It is a state-run program.
Yes.
Your mic.
They would be the ones to determine whether you can apply for those prior years if you're eligible. So unfortunately, we wouldn't know if you can apply for those other years. It's all through the state.
So if they say I can, exactly how would that be done? Through
It
this
comes
PAS?
from them. It comes from the state of New Jersey.
They would have to-
So you would need to communicate with the Department of, the Division of Taxation at the state.
Okay.
Do you have internet access that you can go on the line and look them up?
Not a computer.
So the problem is that state offices most these days work via the web, right? It's difficult, I will tell you, it's difficult to get them on the
Yeah.
phone sometimes. So what I would do is, if you can't, then come into talk to a member of our collector's office, and they will help you get what you need done, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Come see our collector's office, and they can try to help you out.
All right, and one quick clarification is, for the residential abatement for veterans you'd mentioned and seniors over 65, that 250, is that something that's seen on your tax return, or is that a check that I should be looking to receive?
You need to make an application
For
through the
that-
assessor's office. You have to apply to the assessor's office for
Is-
that.
Okay,
And then what will happen is you'll get a credit of $250 on your tax bill. It'll show up, I think it's in the third quarter. It shows up as a $250 credit.
okay, but these are forms,
So it's a
applications that
form,
have to
you
be
can fill them out
submitted.
here. Yes,
Okay.
we have those forms here.
All right.
Yep.
Here?
I don't know, did you have any here? No,
No.
you'd have to come in and see the assessor during business
All right,
hours.
I'll see you. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a-
They're probably online too, right?
Good evening. My name is Sudhakar Uppala. I'm from 9 Yardley Court. I'm here for 9 years, and I've seen last 8 years increase is, this year increase is much higher than last 8 years increase. And the house assessment went up by 25% roughly, and property tax went up by 17. Not just me, but I've seen a lot of my development, they got it. And I looked at that slip. I wanted to go and ask for the reassessment, but unfortunately, there are not many houses sold. There is no way to really do it. So I was struck and I couldn't do anything. So I'm trying to understand how is that assessment done, because there is a relative question. Here it seems like assessment value is very close to market value. Whereas I came from Edison earlier, and many townships, assessment value is much, much, much lesser than market value. How is that assessment value is different here compared to many other townships? And the house price didn't go up by 25% 12 months. How is that assessment went up by 25%?
They did.
In 12 months?
What's your address?
Mr. Carabelli.
9 Yardley Court.
9 Yardley Court?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. If I heard you correctly, you said that in Franklin Township, your assessment mirrors market value, right? That's what we strive for. Your assessment should be market value. Now, when you look in other communities, they may not be 100% of true value because they're not doing annual reassessing. This is another reason why we undertake the program. So the best we can do is have someone say, my assessment is reflective of what I could sell my property for. That's what we strive for. That's why we do the reassessing. You may see other towns where, in my town, I live in Hamilton in Mercer County. We're about 65% of true value. So when I get my notice, the number that's on there is only 65% of what the assessor thinks my property is worth. You have to equalize that and bring that to 100%.
That's what Edison does. So I'm not going to ask you what your assessment is. It's okay. But I can tell you that currently, based on comparable sales in your neighborhood of homes similar to yours, it says that your house is at $1,045,000. Is that higher than your assessment or lower than your assessment?
No, I can't really assess because there are not many houses sold.
No, but
and
what I'm
there
saying
may
is based on comparable sales, that's where you're currently estimated
be- there are
at.
not many comparable sales.
But is
right?
that below or above your assessment?
I can't really do that because
No, I'm asking you if that is above or
It's
below your
within,
assessment.
it's
That's-
within $10,000.
Is it within $10,000 of your assessment, high or low?
Yes.
see, my question is, there are not many houses sold, so I can't really compare. It's Zillow. If I go to
Well,
Zillow, it says similar value.
I understand what you're saying. I know where you live, and I would not necessarily agree with that statement that there are not many houses sold. Actually, there have been quite a number of homes sold in your particular area, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is, I go back to my preaching of earlier. It's August 21st. The deadline for appeal was May 1st. You need, and I'm going to tell you, this is, for next year, and I have no idea what the housing market will do between now and October 1st, because it's October 1st of the pre-tax year. That means October 1st of this year. You will get that card at the end of February, beginning of March of 2026. Look at it. And look and see if that value is something that you don't agree with, and that's your opportunity.
I mean, I couldn't find that many houses to compare.
Right.
That was
Understood.
So as an example, your taxes went up $2,700.
Right.
$1,000 of that was for the Board of Education. $1,500 of that was because of the assessment. The council, the amount that it went up because of the council and what we had done was $7.83. So your taxes went up, and it's horrible, and it's not fair. But it wasn't us that did it.
Right. I said like 8 years, it went up like probably 2,500. In 1 year, it went up by 2,500.
And that's a sign of the fact that over 60% of your tax bill is the school district tax, and that 60.5 or whatever it was that the mayor showed before was increased by nearly 11%. So if you take that 11% of 60% of your tax bill and you see an increase in your assessment because the value of your home went up, I understand. I mean, it happened to me, it happened to the mayor, it happened to the council member next to me. I understand that. What I'm just saying is that the part of the equation that the assessor's office is involved in, and you're talking about your assessment, is something that you need to address pre-May 1st. And as far as the amount that's to be raised by taxes, if you have an objection to that type of large increase in taxes in their amount to be raised, you need to address that with the Board of Ed. You really do.
And I need
Okay.
to correct myself. It was $57.83, not $7. Sorry.
It's end of the day, it's 17% increase for
The
me.
5 looked like a dollar sign to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So I just have a comment on the tax assessment in Edison or the township. I did a survey a couple of years ago. We touch 7 towns. Our border touches 7 towns around us, and our town has the lowest tax rate. So there are 2 variables. You mentioned only one variable, which is the assessment. There's the other variable, which is the tax rate. So I can bet, maybe my house, that the tax rate in Edison would be higher than ours.
So what they have to do is they have, and if you have an artificially low assessed value because you haven't done reassessments for a number of years, you still have that number, that amount to be raised by taxes, right? This is simple math. This is a simple math equation, as the mayor showed. You take that amount to be raised by taxes and you divide it by the total assessed value of the municipality, right? And then that gives you your rate. Well, if we didn't assess properties for 10 years and we were still working with assessed values that were in place in 2015, then that number of total assessment would be much lower. Instead of it being 16 billion, I think it was probably 10 years ago about 9 billion, okay, 8, it was about half of what it is now. So then you would be dividing just a smaller number into the amount to be raised by taxes, right, to get your rate. The rate would be higher. It would still result in the same tax bill. It just is a different tax rate. You still pay the same amount of taxes because you're part of the pie, your slice of the pie that is the levy is still going to result in the same amount of money. Okay? That's sir. Let's move on to the next person.
Only one sentence I say. All I can say is, here the property tax was 30 to 40% less than Edison overall, but now it's becoming almost similar.
So the Edison tax rate is 2.97%. So we are 1.79.
Yep. Okay. Sir, yes.
Good evening. My name is Gilani. I live at 9 Unami Court since 26 years. I also own a property in North Brunswick. The taxes are not raised in a crazy way over there as over here. This looks like a gain tax. We are not selling the houses, we're living there. You can have a gain tax when we sell and make a profit. So you should give us a property tax, not gain tax. And now, the reason of the houses have gone up, it will keep going up because in COVID, too many people died in cities. The people like to get out from cities. They don't want to live. They like to live around here. So the real solution is you should attract builders because the supply is too less. So builders should build more houses so that supply can be met. So in this way, these houses prices can go down. It's not that their prices have gone up.
You have to ask.
In the city.
Sir, you're supposed to be asking a question.
No, I'm giving you suggestion.
No,
also,
no, but
there should be a
and
question
you can come
and
to
suggestion.
Sir, you
Yeah,
can
right.
come. Sir, you can
Sir?
come to a council
Yes.
meeting.
This is for asking questions.
Yeah.
I mean, ask a question as you.
This is for asking questions. That's
fine.
to the benefit of
All right,
the other
thank you.
people in the room.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that you're hearing the
But you're
so that in this way you can reach to some reasonable conclusion.
Sir,
Yes.
ask a question or let the next person go.
Yes, I'm not asking a question because you don't have planning.
But you're 100% right. I don't like the property tax. I said it was a stupid tax. And the reason is, you're absolutely right. It's an unrealized gain that you're paying on. We don't do that with our income taxes for the United States. We shouldn't be doing it for property taxes. You're 100% right. It's a stupid way to tax. But unfortunately, that's what we're stuck with.
How do you not make more houses? That's the reason.
We don't make houses. We're not builders. So, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Will Pelza, Franklin Township. I reserve my address for privacy. First, I want to say thank you. I thought tonight was informational. So I thought the information I put on, I didn't know a lot of it. I do plan to attend meetings, so thank you. I thought that was good information that you put out. My question is, I didn't touch this. My question is to the assessor. I was listening here tonight, and I'm just listening to different people, not my situation, but it seems to me that when we do this assessment, I do truly believe that you guys are trying to get it right. But for the people that are not right, the process of them getting right, it's a little lengthy. Like, can that be looked at? Because for that lady that came up here that had a bad house, or I imagine there are a lot of other people that are upside down, the process for them to actually get it correct, that maybe by error, by no fault, you're doing a lot, it's hard to do everything, but the process to actually get it right seems a little daunting for the average citizen, especially for some of the seniors here. Like, are you guys looking at anything to help, for some type of assistance to help people that maybe that don't understand the process, that need some type of assistance, that need some help? Because I heard today people coming up with issues, but all I heard was, yeah, we agree it's not fair, but no solutions. Like I just asked, and I appeal to you guys, not for me, but for the people that really need solutions, that need help, that we put something in place to help those people that don't have the money to hire someone to help them or don't understand the process, that may just get squeezed out of this. I think that we're a good community and we should be trying to help people that may be getting squeezed out of this process, that don't have the right foundation to, have someone appeal for them. That's it. Thank you.
So a couple people are probably going to answer your question. So hold on. You still have a minute on the clock. You got a minute on the clock. Go ahead, Mayor.
So the solution is to change this method of taxing. That's why we wrote our legislators and asked them to do it. That's the only solution I can think of. It's a stupid way to tax, and we need to change it.
So I'll be the devil's advocate to the mayor here and say that the state legislature is not going to change it, and there won't be a constitutional amendment. And don't worry about your time now. I'm going to take up the rest of your time. If anyone ever has a need, so we have no skin in the game, as to, I think that the assessor said it and the mayor said it. We set an amount to be raised by taxes. That's our number. That we generate that number. And all of the taxpayers of Franklin Township divvy up that number to their little portion of it, right? If your portion is, we told you your portion was too big, all right, and you get the county tax board to reduce your number, that just means the other 22,999 are going to get a little bit more, right? We're going to get that number. That levy is going to be ours. So there's no objection to helping people. The process of appealing your taxes is not our process. It's a process as defined by state law. So that we don't make up the process. The state law dictates the process. If people don't understand their assessment and they come to our assessor's office, we have several staff members that will sit there and explain to them the process. They'll help them complete what needs to be completed for their appeal process. All right? I mean, that's already done. And I can tell you that my office is right around the corner from the assessor's office, and there are people at the window of the assessor's office all day, every day, all year round. I mean, they're there for a lot of different reasons. Some people might already be preparing for the 2026 appeal now and starting to get comparable property values, right? Because they have all of the assessed values for every property. So your question is valid. It kind of already happens now, but we don't have the resources to sit and assign people full-time to help people appeal their assessments. Because the truth of the matter is, and I think you hit this nail on the head, most of our assessments are within 10% plus or minus of true market value. And we have to strive for a number that's even closer than 10%. Our assessed valuations are at right about anywhere between 98 to 102% of value. That's pretty close to 100%. And those are annual numbers, all right? So, and I get a report monthly from the assessor's office, a copy of a report that goes to that gentleman right there as they work through the process of the assessments of every property in the town, whether it be the ones, the 20% that get a full inspection, or the others, because it's a 5-year cycle, or the others that get exterior inspections. So, but it gets done now, and that's what I can tell you. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
If I may just add one more thing, I think it's really critical as citizens to go and challenge when the time is, in essence, to ask the Board of Education or other departments to keep the tax increases at the reasonable level. So unfortunately, when the Board of Education was increasing their taxes, as you heard from the councilman, hardly anybody went and objected. If they don't hear from us as citizens, they are going to do what they are thinking that is best for them to do. So it is extremely critical that we be at the lookout and challenge them, right? So just please, going forward, next year, let's be out looking for the various departments, the tax rate they're going to increase, and challenge them. The Board of Education meeting, you can go and ask them. You can look at their website. You can see their meetings. And usually they have it every year. And I believe, when is it, Mayor?
It's the fourth Thursday of the month, and it's usually in March or April they pass their budget.
Yeah, so I was going to say April their budget gets adopted. So you want to start attending meetings. If you have, their discussions will probably begin sometime around the beginning of February.
So I'm going to, again, not popular, but I'm trying to tell the truth here. I'm going to defend the Board of Education a little bit and just say the pressure they were under. State aid was cut to them by 400.
Yeah, there's
State aid was cut by $400,000, and 10% of their budget, 10% of their budget goes to the charter schools. So they're under enormous pressure, and I'm not saying I would have done what they did, but those are the factors that went into it. Go ahead, sir.
Great. First of all, I did get the card. I saw the number, and I said, I'm going to appeal. I've appealed twice, and both times in my appeal, and it's work. It's not something you can do overnight. You got to gather information in order to present a decent case. I did both times, and both times before I appeared in court, the town called me, and we agreed to a new assessment. We settled. And that was very well done. I got my paper and everything else. Okay, fine. Now, my question comes about based on my name is Vincent Termini. I live at 77 Schindler Court.
Thank you.
My question comes about based on the new tax bill that came out. And I've asked this question, and I haven't really gotten an answer to it, and maybe it's because I should come back and see Mr. Carabelli separately. But my question is, and I think it's simple, but maybe not. When I got my tax bill, I noticed that I got a nice credit on the 2025 third and fourth bills. Okay, and that was calculated out, I calculated it out myself. That was based on my new reduced assessment. Okay, great. So my question is really based on the calculated tax for, the estimated tax for the first and second quarter of 2026, which is supposed to be based on 1/2 of the total tax I paid in 2025. And based on what I've already paid, but my current, you know what it is, the numbers are there.
Yeah, that's right.
Based on that number, plus the 2 quarters that I'm going to be paying when I just paid, my actual tax for 2025 is not what's listed on the tax bill.
Right.
It's over $1,000 more because it's being based on
The old number.
old number. And I just want to understand why that happens and why am I not getting the full benefit of the reduction of whatever my reduction was on my assessment for the full tax year? Tax year being
No, right,
the
yeah.
4 quarters that I
The
pay
4
taxes.
quarters, right, yeah.
Okay?
Tiffany,
That's
you know the
my
answer?
question.
So the tax appeal is based on the current year for 2025.
I understand that.
So 2026 doesn't get adjusted because your appeal is for the current year, not for your future year.
Okay, but I'm paying a total net tax. Do you not consider that reduction I got part of my taxes?
No.
I mean, I'm paying less.
No.
You do not count that
No.
as part of my 2025 reduction in taxes?
For the first half of the year, no.
No, for the second half of the year.
No, what she's saying is when it's calculated, it carries over into quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 2026. You got a tax bill that listed the third and fourth quarters of 25 and the first and second quarters of 26. They don't make a correction to the 2026 tax due based on an appeal that had an adjustment for third and fourth quarters of 25. In 2026, the next tax bill will take into account what your tax bill amount is for the first and second quarters, and depending on what your full 2026 tax due is, they'll make the adjustments in the third and fourth quarter to that number rather than changing the tax bill for 2026 because your appeal amount was based on 2025, not the estimated 2026 first and second quarters.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor.
And that's really the answer.
This is why I need further explanation, because it
So
doesn't.
what you need to
it
do is
doesn't
not go to
compute-
the assessor, you need to go to the collector's office and talk to them about it.
Okay,
Where Tiffany works.
okay.
So it's not really a
Well,
function
Tiffany
of
and
the
I spoke,
assessor.
but the explanation was not something that I really can understand, to be honest.
Well,
So-
I can only explain it the best way I just did.
So, well. it's
And
not-
that happens every time someone, and a assessment appeal goes in the favor of the appellant.
It doesn't equate to me, and this is just being, me saying what I believe, that my reduction in assessment has been fully appreciated by me, the taxpayer. That's what it doesn't, that's what
time's
doesn't
up.
compute.
Time.
Thank you. The time's up.
Thank you.
So what the township manager just went through, you are not, you don't lose that
Right.
adjustment. It's going to be deferred to the second half of the
They
year.
determine the full amount for whatever the tax year is, and this year, we're in the 2025 tax year. You paid so much in the first quarter and second quarter, that was based on an estimate coming from 2024, so you paid that amount, and then the tax bills come out for the third and fourth quarters, and now it's adjusted, and then it's further adjusted because you appealed your assessment, and that adjusted your tax bill, not only because of the new tax that was determined, right? We have a new tax rate that gets determined in May or so. End of May is when it's certified by the county tax office. So now you have a new tax bill that takes into account how much you paid in the first and second quarter. They subtract that from what the total of the tax bill should be for the calendar year, and then they divide it in two and create your third and fourth quarter amount. And then ordinarily, they'll just take that number and carry it over into the first and second quarters of the following year, because it's a weird way, and it's not easily followed. I agree. But then you got to factor in that you had an appeal on your assessment, and you prevailed, or you settled, and you got it reduced. And now that reduction is only going to be reflected in the calendar year for which that assessment is valid. It's not valid for 2026. It's only valid for 2025.
The net is, I got to appeal again.
Well, no, the net is that whatever your tax bill is for 2026 will be appropriately adjusted in the third and fourth quarters to equal the total amount due for the calendar year 26.
So when I get this new card.
Well, if you don't agree with your assessed value, then you appeal.
That's what's going to happen.
It's only your assessed value.
Time is up.
That has nothing to do with your tax bill.
Time is up. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jan Brandt. I'm actually running for council for Ward 2. And I want to thank you all for this opportunity that you've given all of us this evening. I have a couple questions. One's for the tax assessor and one's for you guys. And I'll say my questions first so I get all my time, and then if you could answer after. For the council or for the mayor and Mr. Vornlacher, is when I checked the taxes that are going to be paid this year by the warehouses and all, actually that their tax rate, not their tax rate, but the amount that they're paying in taxes went down. And you also alluded to the fact that residential taxes went up, but the taxes for real estate went down. And I'm just wondering why, especially for places like warehouses that do wear and tear on roads, use our emergency systems and whatnot. So that's one of my questions. And then my second question is for the tax assessor. And I actually went through the appeal process. I don't know if you guys remember me. I brought my little granddaughter, and you guys were very nice. And but I went through the appeal process, and I had a house. Of course, you said 5 houses. There was only one house on my street that had been sold. And I use that as an example, but it was like September 29th, and I think the cutoff was October 1st. So you all used 5 houses that were all bigger than my house, were no comparison to my house, and you used those 5 houses to compare my house. And in addition to that, I showed up there. I have a neighbor who actually has my house, who has the model home in my development, who has a much better house than me, that didn't show up. They checked off. They just wanted to settle with you guys, where they got almost twice more off their assessment than I did. And I know during that hearing you said, I can't bring that up, that somebody else with the exact same house, you actually reduced their assessment much more than my assessment. And I'm wondering why, that would have been very comparative as far as what the assessment was, and that just didn't seem equitable to me. So those are my 2 questions. I guess, why can't that be brought up, and why did a house, and I know you guys said that sometimes houses can be different. I've been in this house. This was the exact same house, but it was a nicer house. It was the model home, had a lot more, nicer things than my house did. And so I was quite disappointed with, I appreciate that there was some reduction, but it wasn't equitable to the exact same house that also asked for a reduction.
Okay. I do remember you and your granddaughter at the hearing. I think what you want to understand is that each appeal has to stand on its own. I don't know what were you alluding to, that we said you couldn't do something or use something?
I wasn't allowed to say the comparison. I wasn't allowed to tell about my neighbor who actually got $50,000 of reduction compared to you guys were offering me like 14 at the time.
Okay, yeah. Again, that would be the equivalent of comparable assessments. If your neighbor's home had sold and it's very much similar to yours, I think you would have had a stronger case.
But why would theirs reduce more than mine? That's my question.
I don't remember your home or your neighbor's home. I do remember you saying something about a model home. that rang a bell with me.
That
But
was-
without knowing the specifics and how we settled with your neighbor, did you get a board judgment, or did we settle with you?
Board judgment.
Okay.
And so can I still come back and talk to you, like, I guess now is the time up? Or, because I heard you saying that
Yeah,
you...
well, it's up for 25. You're beyond the appeal deadline. But, wait till you get your notice. If you disagree with the number there, give us a call, come in. But we offered your neighbor, it sounds like we offered your neighbor a stipulation of settlement, and you got a board decision. Is
Not a
that the case?
stipulation, no, they just checked off on their form that they didn't want to bother to come
So the gentlewoman's
in.
time is up.
Oh, well, he asked me a
No,
question.
Yeah, but your time is up, actually. So
Okay, so
we'll
you
answer
can-
the rest of your questions, and
We
you
you can call us and we'll talk to you.
Okay.
And you can sit down. I'll answer your
Okay,
other
thank
question.
you.
Your other question, and I think this is probably more appropriate that the assessor answer most of it, is that the wear and tear on roads resulting from warehouses has absolutely nothing to do with the value of a piece of property. It is the value of a piece of property. And if the value of commercial properties went down, then they went down. And so what you have to look at it is it's a ratio, right? So if the increase in residential properties was 20%, I'm just making up numbers now, and the increase in commercial properties is only on average 10%, then the residential properties, because they make up the bulk by far of rateable properties in this town, are going to shoulder the burden of a tax increase, as opposed to the commercial properties. 10% increase in value for commercial, 20% increase in value for residential. Residential makes up probably 75% of the rateable value of the municipality. So therefore, the residential properties are going to see an increase in taxes far in excess of those that are commercial properties. If it was in reverse, as the mayor said, which it was 2 or 3 years ago, when the commercial properties were far more valuable and increasing in value far ahead of the residential properties, those commercial properties saw significant increases in their taxes, and the residential properties saw little to none. It's math. It's just math. But how a property impacts a municipality is not tangible. It's subjective, and it has nothing to do with the value of a property, which is all assessments are, the absolute value of a property. It has nothing to do with whether or not trucks from that property drive over township roads.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay. My name is Yang Zhou. I live in the 128 Selby Court. Okay, my first question is about the assessment program. How much cost for do this 1 year assessment? Can you tell me?
How much does what cost?
How much cost to do this assessment?
Well, we have an assessor's office, so there's a part-time assessor and four full-time staff members. It's an office within the town. They're township employees.
Okay, this township. Okay.
Yeah, they're township employees who do it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Another question is that necessary to do this assessment every year?
Yes.
Okay. The reason is the assessment is just to fair that everybody gets the fair portion about how you pay the tax. So it's not about your value. It's about the fair portion.
Correct.
Okay? So it's necessary to do every year.
That's why we do it every year.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure everybody's treated evenly.
Second question is, this year's the tax increase too much. Mainly, it's not because the assessment increase. It's because the budget increase. And who responsible for this budget increase? We always say, hey, there was the meetings you should come to see.
The majority of
normally, most people don't know. Or even you say you don't care, but we care increase.
The majority of the increase was from the Board of
Yeah, we
Education.
care increase. How you spend the money, the budget.
Oh, you're saying
So
you.
the-
This is what the mayor's
No,
trying to correct you.
my question is, how can we improve to inform all the people, say, hey, this year we increase the budget before we do the meeting or decision?
Sir, the process is the same every year. And the process, as far as the municipality is concerned, our process is the same every year. As far as the Board of Education, it's the same every year.
I
And all I
understand.
can, let me finish. So the notifications are every mailbox and every mail recipient in the Township of Franklin receives a newsletter 3 times a year that lists all council meetings. It lists the upcoming dates of those council meetings. The council meetings are held on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month, other than July and August, when there's only the second Tuesday, no 4th Tuesday, and same as August, there's only one meeting in those months. The Board of Education meets regularly as regularly scheduled meetings. Budgets are adopted in accordance with state law and state law timelines. That all of these things are the same every year. We don't just randomly choose to do it at various times. So if someone is interested in the budget, then they have the opportunity to come to budget meetings.
Okay. I'm saying, can we do better to inform the people? Hold on, let me finish my sentence.
ahead.
I know you have your answer.
I'm
Okay,
listening.
Let me finish that.
Go ahead.
If before your decision, you send the letter like a bill, hey, this year will increase such amount of money to all the people before you do the decision, I believe all the people will come here to complain.
Sir, do you know how much it costs to send a letter to every resident in this town? $30,000 to send a letter. I think that, and we have reached a point in our society that it befuddles me.
Okay.
All right, let me finish my thought here.
Okay.
It befuddles me because we all need to take responsibility for ourselves. All right? These meetings are regularly scheduled meetings. This budget process is no different from year to year to year. This tax increase overwhelmingly that was received by the property owners in Franklin Township, we're here to explain the process. If you are upset about the rate of taxes that were increased, I have explained, the mayor's explained. Over 60% of your tax bill goes to the Board of Education. And of that 60% of your tax bill, they increased their rate almost 11%. The Township Municipal building, the Township Municipal Government is 13.5% of your bill, and over the last 10 years has increased it by how much, Mayor?
13.5.
13.5% over the last 10 years. In many of those years, it has been 0 increases. Okay? So I understand frustration. I pay a property tax bill myself, and it's a pretty significant one that had a significant increase. All right? And what I'm saying to you is, if you are not happy, then you need to take the initiative like all other residents and make your voices heard to the elected body that is responsible for the most significant portion of your tax bill. The Township Municipal Government has made great efforts to keep budgets at the bare minimum increases that it can and continue to provide municipal services. All right, the mayor showed how the inflation rate is almost triple what the increases in our budgets have been over the last 10 years. All right, we have seen massive increases in health care insurance costs. We have seen massive increases in utility costs, labor costs. If you want a police department, if you want potholes repaired, it's going to cost money. And those money, just like your budget in your home, Our budget here is increasing, yet we continue to try to do more and more and more with less to keep those budget increases and those tax increases at a minimum. I can't speak, nor can the mayor or any other council members, to all of the issues related to the other taxing bodies that are part of your tax bill. We don't have any say to what the county commissioners to do on your county portion of the tax bill. We don't tell the fire commissioners what to do on your fire tax, and we don't tell the Board of Education what to do on your Board of Education tax. But if you want your voice to be heard, you need to go to all of those places and let your voice be heard.
Okay, let's move on. And one thing I can't believe I didn't mention, we raised the levy 2.6%. That's it, 2.6. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Meher Rafiq. I am a candidate for the upcoming election for the Board of Ed. My address is 13 Spring Street in Somerset. I have a quick question. First of all, thank you so much for putting this town hall together. I think it's a great forum for the residents. So the question is, looking ahead, how does the township plan to manage future tax increases or any budget deficits? Are there any unexpected challenges? Example, healthcare insurance, pension cost, infrastructure needs that the residents should anticipate?
So the biggest one is healthcare. You hit it right on the head. That was, what, $2 million 2 years ago, $1.4 million this year. We changed our method of insurance. We became self-insured. Otherwise, it would have been bigger increase. Those are the things. There is no, but we never have a budget deficit. We're
not allowed to.
Yeah. We unlike the U.S. government, we can't print money.
No, we're not allowed to have a deficit, and as the mayor alluded to, health care benefits. So our health care costs were slated to increase by 48%. And when I say 48%, that is not relevant unless you know the number. 48% of about $12 million. So that's a big number increase, right? So what we did is we opted into a self-insurance model that meant that we only increased in 2024 by about 17% and about 13% in 2025, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top of my head. And the goal is that through proper management of our self-insurance plan, that we'll be able to bring under control the massive increases that those who are fully insured, in particular the state of New Jersey right now in the state health benefits plan, is seeing annual increases in the 40% range.
And
so that's the biggest thing we're doing.
You mentioned you're running for BOE. We partner with the BOE to try to help keep both of our costs down.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks again for having us tonight. Do we know how much the shortfall was?
Name and address, please.
Oh, Laura, who's our Cedar Avenue, Somerset. Sorry.
Okay. What's your question?
I was just wondering, it's not really a tax question. I'm just wondering maybe if someone could tell me, do we know how much the shortfall was in budget for the Board of Education? And do we know why the state of New Jersey did not fund the Board of Education with the price they were asking? Do you know that gentleman in the blue shirt?
Yeah, so I didn't know your name, so you had a blue shirt on. Councilman Ram.
Councilman Ram.
That's me.
Thank you.
I'm the only one. So there is a formula that the state establishes, and each school district is supposed to spend so much money per student. If you don't, then they cut the school district's funding from the state level. Mm-hmm. So this Franklin, because of the 2% cap that Christie instituted, had been spending far less than what the fair sharing that or the per student spend rate that the state had established. So the school district had an option: continue to accept the the lower budget and the lower funding, or increase the budget to meet the expenses at the level that the state has established per student, so they can get the money from the state.
But they didn't do that. You said because they had a shortfall. But you said the state didn't fund them.
the state didn't fund them.
So they raised your taxes.
They raised your taxes.
Normal state aid is $21 million. They cut it by 1.8%, which
Why?
is
Do we know why?
$400,000.
For what the councilman just said, because the state of New Jersey has a formula
Okay.
that determines how much per pupil should be spent by the district on each student, and because the Board of Education was unable to meet that number per student because they had complied with the 2%
No,
appropriate.
she's asking why did they cut state aid?
Well, no, that's why they cut state aid, Mayor. They cut state aid because the Board of Education wasn't in conformance with the regulations of the State Department of Education in the amount of money allocated per pupil in the district. So because they didn't comply, the state said, we're not going to continue to give you state money if you're not getting the appropriate amount of money out of your district taxpayers. Raise taxes. And that's what the state DOE said, raise taxes. And they did it to districts across the state. I'm familiar with a district down in Ocean County where the state told the district to raise the property tax assessments by over 20% because they were underfunding. It's an arbitrary number, but that's what the state did. So again, it's not. The mayor keeps saying it, and I'm going to say he might sound like a broken record, but I don't think he's a broken record. It's stupid. There's no good answer for it. It's stupid.
Isn't that how all these schools are funded throughout the United States, the property taxes?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I didn't know that. Thank
No,
you.
in many states, they're not funded by property tax. They're funded by a separate tax based on income in some states.
Oh, that makes
There's a
sense.
number of different methods to tax.
All right, well, thank you. As you know, it's been very heartbreaking for all of us here in Franklin Township.
Yep.
I've lived here for 62 years, and this is crazy, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's 9:40. I'm going to cut this off at 10 o'clock.
I think we got one more left, man.
Unless you're already in line.
Unless she
Anyone-
says something so
If anyone
inciting
wants to
that
speak,
no one else goes
Get
up.
in line now. And
Yeah, we're getting in line if you want to talk, because we're going to cut it off. We all want to go home, too.
Oh, no, just a question.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, for speaking for me. Go ahead,
One
ma'am.
more question, okay. My name is Elisar Batur Aid, and my family's been here since the early 1980s. And I went to St. Matthias. My kids went to St. Matthias, and then to
Address.
Franklin, and then to Rutgers.
Address, please.
The question,
Your address, please.
yes, sorry, 50, right now, 15 Denby Drive for now. Because what happened right now, in May, we paid 2,400 property taxes, and then we were getting ready to go on vacation, and then the bill that you got, whoever came up with for due the 29th with the grace period, was increased by 1,322. Now, I'm not really that great with, I was a dentist, I'm retired right now, I'm not that great with math. My husband's an engineer, and he's like, oh, that's like a 20-some% increase, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you for the explanation. It made a lot of sense how, who's responsible for how we got here this period, for the, how you guys figured this out. Just a couple of questions. The first one is, who was responsible, you said, for removing the cap? That was like when the Board of Education, who said it's okay, we're going to remove the cap for now? Like, we can remove the cap? Like, who?
The Department of Education.
They themselves just said, we're going to remove, and they're allowed to do that, I guess? So that's.
Consent of the governor, yeah.
Got it. And I mean, I see a lot of older people here, and including myself, I guess, now. And this is very hard. This is very hard on all of us.
Yep.
This is very hard on them.
Absolutely.
I feel really bad for them. So hopefully, moving forward, we can figure something out as a community. But this money that you guys collect, does this like when you do renovations for streets,
Is that?
Yes.
You use
For
this
our-
money?
For our money, yes.
Okay, so we live on Denby Drive, and
Well,
I have a
that's not
question.
what the purpose of this meeting is, and I know who you
No,
are.
no, but I'm saying.
I know
I'm
who
saying,
you are, and it's already been reported, and it's
Oh,
been.
I know,
so-
I don't
yeah.
report to any, I haven't.
No, not you. I'm saying I
haven't
know where
talked
you
to
live.
anyone.
I'm saying I know where
No,
you live.
no, what I'm saying
You're-
regarding the money, they paved half the street and left a huge pothole. So I'm saying, where's this money being spent?
So we spent how much, Mayor?
Excuse me.
That's all my question is.
So, excuse me, again, if you were paying $10,000 in property taxes.
13,000 now.
Okay, but just for easy calculation,
Okay.
$1,350 of it went to the town. So it's not like you're people call me and say, for all the money I'm spending, you should be paving my road. Well, only 13.5% of it goes to the town. And well, you have potholes on your road.
No, they did half the street. I'm just saying,
I don't know why.
okay,
that
the last question, if I still have some time.
13
Supposedly,
seconds.
I'm doing it fast. Supposedly, New Jersey pays the highest property taxes in the nation, okay? If someone asked me, I would have said, oh, maybe Connecticut, my brother just moved to California. And no, it's New Jersey. So when I drive around town and my kids are here and I want to stay here, okay? I need to see proof that this money is being used wisely.
So
my question is,
every
can we
coun-
use this a little better
every-
instead of paving
No,
half the street?
Well, understand that we have to try to pave as much as we can pave based on what we can afford in every particular year's budget. When you became mayor, what, 2016, 2015?
Yes.
Right, but so we were doing about, I don't know, $1 million worth of paving a year.
No, when I took office
Yeah.
as a councilman in 2010, we were paving under $1 million a year.
Under $1 million a year in paving. We now do roughly $4 to $5 million a year in paving. Understand that infrastructure, like in your house, you have to maintain your home, right? You gotta make sure that every once in a while you gotta get a new faucet in your kitchen because it gets old, and you gotta get a new refrigerator. Well, we have to do the same thing. The problem is ours cost a lot of money, and you can only do so much in a particular year. And the fact that a portion of Denby got paved is because we employed a third-party company to come in and do roadway evaluations based on condition and a lot of factors to determine condition, and did it in segments of road. And not all segments were necessarily, you get a road that might have 3 segments that were due for paving and 2 that weren't. So that money is going to go to a road that needs paving just like those 3 segments, rather than paving something that's not ready to be paved yet. I don't know all the circumstances between Denby and all the other roads, but we have about 276 miles of roadway that we maintain, and that means that we have to spend a lot of money on paving. We now do that.
Understandable.
All right.
Any reason in your assessment, all of you, because in 4 years, everybody's up for reelection.
I don't get elected, but they might.
I was told, yeah. But you explain things very well, so I appreciate that. Why does New Jersey pay the highest property taxes in the nation?
Here's
if
why.
If I walk around, it doesn't
I'll
look
leave
like
the mayor
we're
answer.
that
You wanna
high
know why?
end.
Because we have a stupid way, like the mayor said, of paying taxes. The other thing is because we are a home rule state. Do you know what a home rule state is?
Explain it.
A home rule state is where every single municipality, whether they be little old Millstone Borough on our western border that has 600 people living there, or big old Franklin Township with 70,000 people, has to have their own everything, right? We have to have our own schools. We have to have our own municipal government. We have to have our own police department. We have to have our own fire department. And when you go to other places with regional school districts and countywide agencies, the costs are far less when you have an agency responsible for a larger area and a larger number of people than you do with 564 governments in New Jersey and over 600 school districts. And you say, how could that possibly be? How could there be over 600 school districts if there's only 564 municipalities? Because you have school districts that don't even have any schools. It's insanity. That's why.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
And I just ask all of you guys, please, let's work on helping these senior citizens for next time. Let's work on helping them. We'll do our part to talk to the Board of Education, whoever we can, but let's try to figure our way out of this because everybody's leaving New Jersey because of this.
Thank you so much. We are seniors also, by the way. At least I am.
Alex Strauss, 285 Hazlitt Way, Somerset. I want to allude first to the talk about the budget meetings. There were budget meetings. Will you commit next year to having budget meetings again in person and also to publicize them just like you publicized today's meeting? Yes?
Do you want me to answer now or wait till you're done?
Well, I just want to, if I could say, last year you changed it, and you said that the only people who would ever go to those budget meetings were yourself and there's a buddy of yours years ago when you were a anti-tax activist, okay? But the fact is, the year before, there was somebody who went there, and Mr. Vornlacher was shaking his head, long table, facing guys. You didn't try to stop him. That person was me. Okay, so the fact is, yes, it could be more transparent. It doesn't look as transparent. It looks like you wanted to keep it, on the down low. So, yeah.
So you want me to answer?
Sir, please.
So no, I will not commit to that. We had far more attendance by doing it by Zoom. You can look at the number of participants. There were far more people there. I mean, we're talking small numbers in both cases, but there were far more there by Zoom. And
how many?
Instead of 2, there were a dozen.
A dozen. Well, I guess that's more than 2, right?
It's more than 2.
One of the advantages that we found in doing it by Zoom is that I'm displaying the budgets for every single department as we go through the 2 nights of budget presentations. So we have the department head, and on the screen in a Zoom meeting is their actual budget workbooks. And everyone can see it right on their computer screen. Even when we put things up, you see what that spreadsheet right there, and all they are is Excel workbooks. When you put them up on the television screens, the people in the audience here can't see what they're looking at. And it's a constant flow of moving from one workbook to the other as we move from one department to the other. And we found that it was far more effective to get the information out to not only the council members who were reviewing the budgets, because they now have them all on their computer screens, but also the members of the public who might want to dial in and see what all of the individual budgets were and what the budget amounts were being budgeted for. It wasn't anything to try to be less transparent. It was done to be more transparent.
But don't you think some people aren't comfortable with Zoom?
Well, I can tell you that 98%, according to the United States Census, of those homes in this township have internet access.
Mm-hmm.
So the Zoom meetings for free, to click on a link on a website, it's a very easy thing to do, and you don't need to do anything other than look at your computer screen.
And
That's it.
It streams live too, doesn't it?
It streams live. It's on TV, and it's on we stream it on FTTV. It streams from our website, and it's on a Zoom meeting. I think that we have made a great effort, and it was not to try to hide things. It was to get more people involved and make the information for each individual department budget easily read by the people who were looking at it. That's honestly why it was done, Alex.
Was it
No other
heavily
reason.
publicized, though? Was it?
Well, it's publicized like any other council meeting. We address it at council meetings. I mean, it's a council meeting. That's what it is. And we treat council meetings like any other council meeting. I mean, so everyone needs to look at the schedule. And honestly, if you're interested in doing it like you are, you do that. And that's why you join in.
Second thing, I know you're talking about how you have no control over the schools, but I wanted to bring up Hamilton Street because for many years, the council, the mayor, that was going to be Rutgers students in those apartments. And so I wanted to know what the cost in the schools has been to all those apartments on Hamilton Street. And that is something that you guys, that was a big emphasis that came from you. So it's not like, oh, it's all the schools. No, because you guys wanted the housing built on Hamilton Street, and that was the impetus to do that. And now they're showing up in the schools. You're going to have daycare centers on Hamilton Street, right? So what is the net? What is the cost? I mean, have you thought about that as far as the ultimate taxes? That's going to show up in the school budget, right? It will, right? No?
So I don't know what the bedroom loading
Well,
is.
are you thinking about, have you thought about that, and aren't you responsible then, in that case, certainly, and the school emphasis, because it was a huge program to get those apartments on Hamilton Street. It didn't come from the Board of Education, it came from you guys. I mean, Councilmember Karazi, he's more recent. But I guess I'm saying, have you?
I think that what you're asking is open for debate. Now, your time's up, but I'm not going to,
Okay.
we'll talk.
Time's
later.
up? Well,
I think you're the last one, so let's just talk about
where's
this.
the,
I think it's open for, it's on my computer, and it
I
rang
know, but I
while you were
also
talking.
was waiting for him to
But
respond.
I have screens up.
Yeah,
But the questions
you just
and
want to cut
answers were
people
during the
off,
3 minutes.
all right?
I'm giving you the
but
answer.
You
and
talk
engage
most of the time.
Would you stop talking and let me answer your question?
No, because that's all you do is talk.
Well, then I can't answer your questions if I don't talk. The answer is, it's open for debate. There was a study done, and I did an evaluation last year to find out whether or not the study formulas were valid. Rutgers University at Blaustein School of Government did a study, and then they updated the study. This study has been implemented in development analysis throughout the state of New Jersey, and it's a study based on a number of different factors that makes an estimate of what an apartment complex or an apartment building, how many school children will result from that building. And I can tell you that I did an analysis of every apartment complex in this township. And you can shake your head, no, I did it, and I'll show it to you. I have it right here. Every single apartment complex. There are next to no children going to school or of school age occupying apartments on Hamilton Street that have been constructed in the last 5 years. Almost none. One building had 0. So while you say it, and I'm not saying that it will always stay that way, but as it stands right now, those apartment buildings on Hamilton Street have had a negligible, if any, impact on school children enrolled in our schools.
I think they're mostly 1 and 2 bedroom.
They are. Not mostly, all. They are all 1 and 2. And the building further towards New Brunswick is all 1-bedroom apartments.
And we did that because we wanted to minimize the impact
Right.
on schools.
So the answer to your question is, it's yet to be seen. Right now, it has had 0 impact. 20 years from now, I might be dead, and there might be a lot of kids that live in those apartments, but I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball. But this Blaustein School study that was done as far back as I think the initial study was done in either the late 80s or early 90s, and it was updated 20 years later, has proven to be accurate in the prediction of school children in multifamily units time and time again. And in Franklin Township, when you add up every single apartment in the entire town, the estimate on school children that should be living in all of our apartments throughout the township is about, I'm going to make up a number a little bit, it's like 2,074, and the data that I collected from the Board of Education said that we had 2,073. That's how accurate the study formulas are. So I'm telling you that the planners who reviewed those applications and the developers who submitted those applications for those buildings relied on the Rutgers studies to determine school-age children, and it's proven itself to be accurate.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Does anyone else have any comments? Please say no. Thank you. All right, thank you all. That ends the meeting.
You can come talk to me and ask it.